7:30. In the 8 o'clock hour, we'll have a conversation with Sandy, the company. We want to know more about them. And then we'll also continue the conversation on gender-based violence and the generation conversation that we were having yesterday. But let's begin with COVID-19 in numbers. What's happening in the world and Kenya?
All right, let's start in Kenya. And a big number we're looking at, 21,103,470. Those are the vaccines that have been available in the country so far. Again, we heard a spirited appeal from the Ministry of Health yesterday in the name of CAS Rashid Aman.
Yeah.
And he said, look, guys, I am making a passionate appeal to you. And I hope that you would do so to the members of your families, your friends, your colleagues, your loved ones, even those you do not know.
Yeah.
Please come out and get vaccinated. In terms of an offer of protection, it's the first thing that we can offer. And we're making sure that these are available around the country. And he said, look, beyond my position as somebody who works within the Ministry of Health, as a institution, dealing with medical issues, I'm asking you, even as a practitioner of medicine, please come out and get vaccinated. And this is what he said yesterday. Really in terms of, this is one thing that Dr. Hwale said a couple of months ago when we spoke with him, and he said, you know what, we will have adequate numbers, we will have adequate supplies as the days go by, as the months go by, and indeed this is where we are. Because looking at these 21 million vaccines that are available in the country, just 7.8 million have been taken up. Right?
Okay, so as they say all these things, are the vaccines available in the places that come out where? Come out and get vaccinated. Okay, but where?
That's the part of the statement then that is missing, unfortunately, in terms of where you can get them on a daily basis. And it would be nice. And I've seen many, many calls from folks who say, you know what, if we knew that in Center 1, 2, 3 on every day, these are available.
If I go, I'll walk in, walk out, vaccinated.
Exactly.
I'll not walk in and be told, oh, leo hakuna, ngoja 30 minutes.
Yeah, you see. So this is the thing. If we were aware where they were on a daily basis and how many, then you know what to do and how to plan. But unfortunately, that is not the case. It would be nice if we knew. We still have a low uptake, climbing slightly. 11.4% of the population has been vaccinated. Of that, 57% has been fully vaccinated. Interestingly enough, we're looking at a slight rise in COVID-19 cases, 144 new cases out of a sample size of 5,897. Gives a positivity rate of 2.4%. Still low, still good. And so things are being kept, in that manner. However, again, vaccinations is a sticking point. And hopefully we can get that rolling. But clearly, vaccinating 10 million people in the next 10 days, 20 days.
We could have hit that 10 million.
We could have.
Because the vaccines are available. The only case here is it's the distribution.
14 million vaccines are currently available around the country. So, look.
It's just making sure that the vaccines are accessible to everybody.
And you know what we do? The side that is actually now working to make these available in certain areas, now we're looking at CBOs and religious organizations who are saying, all right, let's see how we can help to do this. Because in churches...
Because the government is unable to do its job.
Right. At mosques and communities. Imagine, at mosques and community centers, at churches now is when they're saying, okay, guys, this is going to be available on Fridays or over throughout the week. We're going to have this done. Because the government is not... doing that. Schools have also tried.
The other thing I saw, actually, this was it was a tweet by Dr. Githinji Gitahi, right? And he was saying the experience that they had. So they were conducting with AMREF, they were conducting a vaccination drive in Kibra on certain day, and then they found that this nice health facility, vaccines are available Monday to Friday. It doesn't open on Saturday and Sunday. This is the day when people are more available. So if you say that the vaccines are available, yes, on these particular days or in the middle of the week, people are busy. And then the days when people are more available, they're not available.
Think about it. Where do people gather the most and on which days?
Religious centers.
Precisely. What stops you
days
from just moving out of this proverbial box and taking the vaccines on a Sunday?
Yes.
What?
So
and those
Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
People will be there and in large numbers.
Friday, we have the Islamic community coming out to pray in large numbers in different areas. You already know where they are.
You have a captive audience.
Saturday, you have the same thing.
Sunday,
you have the same thing.
Surely.
What are we doing?
A word with those who lead these congregations. You arrange for a day, they speak about it, and people know.
It actually isn't really difficult to figure it out. It really isn't. It really isn't. And it can be done.
Okay. It's 17 minutes after 6. We are here. We're here until 10 a.m. Are you online? Because we are live streaming the show, SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Say hello to us. And we'll be saying hello to you as we take a look at the newspaper headlines shortly. First, time for the weather forecast. It was raining. It's raining in some parts of Nairobi. It's dry in other parts of Nairobi. How's it in parts of the country and the world? Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. 24/7, around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
Hello, you've reached the Wish hotline. Your wish is our command.
Hello, neza make a wish.
Unaweza. What do you want to wish for?
I wish ningeondoa stress ya storage, packaging na shipping to my customers so I can focus more on growing my online business bila hizo hassles.
Try Sendy.
Sandy?
Yes, Sendy. You can download the fulfillment app and begin fulfilling with Sendy today.
Always wishing for a solution to manage your operations? Sendy Fulfillment is here to bring your wishes to life. We pick, store, pack, and ship your orders to your customers bila stress. Download the Sendy Fulfillment app today. Do more with Sendy.
Hello.
Hello, umesikia?
Nimesikia nini?
Hujasikia habari? Hebu acha nikuambie. Kile kimetokea.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Don't wait for hearsay. Dial star 550 star 1 hash to read the Standard e-paper from the convenience of your mobile phone for only 20 shillings from your telecom line, and stay up to date for a reliable source with over 100 years of experience with no additional data charges.
Get ready to start your engine. Turn up the volume and set the destination for the Two Rivers Mall for cars and music happening on the 18th and 19th of December. Come dance and drive with Digger Motors and Spice FM with fun interactive activities, including a showcase of the latest cars, motoring technology from top dealers, car service, mobile clinics, product stands, sim racing, GP karting, and music, courtesy of the Throwback Kings, DJs Nijo and Pinye. Alongside
cloudy, most
Spice
parts of
FM.
Nairobi today at 17. We'll see highs of 24 and lows of 15. At 15 degrees, Nakuru City is mostly cloudy. Highs of 26 and lows of 14. Nyeri at 14 is cloudy as well. Highs of 23 and lows of 14. A chance of rain here this morning. Clear conditions in Eldoret for now at 14. Highs of 25 and we'll see lows of 13. It's raining through most parts of Mombasa at 25, highs of 31 and lows of 24. And we're looking at rain showers in Malindi at 25 with highs of 31 today. Looking into Kisumu, clear conditions at 20, highs of 30 and lows of 19. And Kakamega is clear at 18, it'll go to highs of 31 and lows of 17. In Kampala, it's raining at 23, highs of 27 and lows of 18, while in Dar es Salaam, it's sunny already at 24. It'll go to highs of 31, back down to lows of 24. Johannesburg is clear this morning at 15, highs of 26. And Lagos, there's a haze over the city at 27, come to highs of 34 and lows of 25. Clear conditions at 23 in Kinshasa, highs of 32 and lows of 23. It's 6 degrees and sunny already early afternoon in Beijing, highs of 9 and lows of -2. It's raining in Paris. Combined with the cold, it's turning into sleet. At 6 degrees, it'll go to highs of 8 and lows of lows of 2. London is rainy this morning at 8. It'll be highs of 8 and lows of 8. New York at 4 degrees is cloudy, highs of 5 and lows of 4.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4
21 minutes after
Spice-
6, people are already online.
Edwin Washira says, good morning. Eric Latiff from Ndu Okoh City, Muga. Good morning. He's listening in specifically from University Way. It says, happy Jamhuri in advance, of course. Eric Latiff, with Monday being a public holiday, we used to be representing us on TV. I don't want to miss it.
Yes, yes.
Voila.
Yes. Every Monday. We'll be here in the Situation Room, and then later on at night. Kivumbi 2022.
C'est ça? Voila. Dagi Oguta says, good morning. Tuned in. Mr. Eric Ndu and Dr. Muga tuned already from Kisumu in Migosi. Happy weekend ahead, and to you too. Charity Minor is tuned in from Nakuru. Christoph Kunziato. Good morning, Ndu Okoh and the rest.
The rest are fine.
The rest
From
greet you
Nairobi. Simon Villa. Spice. Okay. Olekasasi is tuned in this morning.
So you read what he's saying.
I don't know what it is.
Spice baby.
Okay. Ni sawa.
Yes.
Sawa, but I did not know that is what that was. I thought it was BBI.
Surely, surely.
We can see all of you online this morning. Good morning. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. We are live on 94.4 in Nairobi. We are in Mombasa, Kisumu, Nakuru, Eldoret, Nyeri, Malindi, and we are at Chiel all over the world on SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. City, today's proverb.
Kaa na mwimbaji na utaimba wimbo.
Kaa na mwimbaji na utaimba wimbo. Translate.
Sit with a singer and you will sing songs, or you will sing a song.
Sit with the dog and you get fleas.
I think you've got the general drift. Yes.
Kaa na mwimbaji na utaimba wimbo. All right. That's a nice one. Let's take a look at the headlines in the papers then. All right. Standard e-paper is available on standardmedia.co.ke. Wherever you are in the world, yes, you don't have access to the day's standard hard copy, which is 60, but you can get the standard e-paper, which is the digital format of the standard newspaper from wherever you are, 20 shillings daily. Access to all this premium content, plus also access to 10 days, free access to the Standard Media archives. Higher. What's in the papers?
Well, Ryla's big day is all over the place, and we're being told many things on the front page of the Standard. How Ryla's big day and ANC leader Mudavadi cites personal engagements while Wipers Kalonzo is in Juba. How convenient. On the Standard, how NASA turned into a blessing for Ryla. So
NASA turned into a blessing.
yeah,
NASA the coalition.
yes, not NASA the space people. Azimio La Umoja is what's happening today, right?
Yeah.
Today is when we will know, if we will know whether Raila Odinga will announce his bid, if there is a bid for the presidency. Now, as is reported by the Standard,
It is a big secret. Like
you don't know what's
like
going on.
it's going to be a surprise.
Yeah, we don't know, man.
Like, really?
We'll
I
be
mean,
surprised.
is it really possible that Raila can actually say, I am vying for president?
We don't know, man.
Wow.
It is going to be a shocker.
This will be a big one.
Indeed.
In fact, completely unexpected.
By 1 o'clock today, the country will be in throes of excitement and surprise as per what this announcement will
A
be.
proper plot twist. Raila declares candidacy for the presidency.
Or not.
Wow.
It's like an elephant hiding behind it. Anyway,
Behind the bush.
right. And then you asked, which animal is this?
So I see the bush. And the animal behind it, I see the bush.
Not quite sure what that is. Death of coalition occasioned by political maneuvers and bad blood among partners gave ODM leader, who today makes a major declaration at the Azimio La Umoja convention, a through pass to make his 5th stab at the presidency. It's being assumed that that is what he's going to tell the country today. Okay, so political maneuvers and the bad blood that led to the dissolution of the National Super Alliance provided a window for ODM leader Raila Odinga to make his 5th stab at the presidency. Had the 2017 coalition remained intact, the former Prime Minister would have found it difficult to contest next year's presidential bid. A pact between himself and his former partners Kalonzo Musyoka of Wiper, Musalia Mudavadi of ANC, and Moses Wetangula of Ford Kenya would have curtailed Raila's ambitions. In an interview, nominated MP Godfrey Osotsi, an ally of the ODM leader who registered NASA, confirmed that Raila's erstwhile allies have been clinging on to as truth. The deal was that ODM would not produce a presidential candidate in 2022. This technically would have blocked Raila from contesting in the next election. So, when the NASA principals dissolved the coalition, it gave Raila the golden ticket to go ahead and run again. He said the 2017 pact dictated that Raila would only serve for a single term and give room for one of the participants in 2022. Osotsi said the deal signed by all participants, all principals, and their witnesses and deposited in the office of the Registrar of Political Parties would see Kalonzo, Mudavadi, or Wetangula vie for the top seat, whether Raila won the 2017 poll or not. But now that they have all broken up, it allows him to do whatever he wants. And so now this is what has given rise to essentially what we are going to be seeing today when he makes this announcement of whether he will run for president in 2022.
Stop saying making an announcement whether he'll run or not. Okay.
Do you know?
Come on.
As you're seated here, do you know that he's going to say...
Brother,
please.
Brother, tell us.
Raila will make his announcement that he is vying for the presidency today.
Today?
Yes.
Ndu.
Yes?
The thing that you have read,
Yes, sir.
detailing what that particular writer has penned, it is completely besides the point. I'm going to explain to you why. That is fodder for common consumption. Political games are never what they're presented to be.
No.
They got together, they wrote this, they agreed
They deposited
this,
the other.
They deposited the other, and then they fell out.
One more.
You only need to look at the history of coming together and falling apart of politicians, not political parties, politicians, because it's the politicians who disagree, and then the political parties which they own also move with them. Okay? Go back to the time of independence. You know, people speak of Kadu, people speak of Kau, Kenya African Union before it became KANU. My friend, this country had very many political parties. Many. And people just shared them to join other Kau or Kadu. Yes, exactly. And the story continued. Now, when you talk about NASA falling apart, the story is they disagreed on this and the other. Usually in this country, the incumbent doesn't just let sleeping dogs lie. No. If an opposition seems like they're going to be powerful, your job as incumbent is to dismantle it.
Yes.
So you will look for somebody who you feel is
a weaker link.
Thank you so much. I was going to say somebody you can convince. But yes. And that happens all the time. And whenever you find posturing of a politician who want to do this, a politician who want to do the other, Maringo ya Mrembo, it is something that they do to bargain. Okay? No, I don't think I'm going to come today. But
I've done all this, but I'm not coming.
But
I want you to come and beg me.
If you send fair.
If you talk to me well.
Eric,
So then, what do you say of this former Wiper, not Wiper, what is it called? NASA principals skipping this event? Raila has attended each of theirs. Raila was there in the KANU one, Raila was there in the Kalonzo one, he's been there. I mean, Raila has been attending their functions. Now, it so happens that they are not going to be attending Raila's function because of other...
Let me ask the
They're
question. Let me ask the question. Does it matter?
Now, what do you make of it?
Is it going to stop anything?
What message are they sending? Like you're saying, it's always, a message being sent.
Maringo ya Mrembo.
So what do they want?
They want to be called now.
No.
But they've already been called.
No, they've been called. It is confirmation. Look, it means they haven't arrived at an agreement. So this is bargaining.
No, it's still early time.
Posturing by politicians is nothing in my mind other than bargaining. As we say in Kiswahili, kaa ngumu. You want to posture and say, no, I'm not going to do this.
You just do not want to commit.
So that you can be called and told, Nani,
okay, please.
Okay, now come,
this
please.
thing that you say, what is it? What can we do for you? And then you say, well, it's not just me.
I have somebody else.
So and so. So as a gesture of goodwill, can so and so, you've already determined, get this.
So it basically means that they haven't been given something concrete yet.
No, they haven't. And all the wish list...
And they do not want to commit themselves by attending this event because there's another suitor on the other side called UDA.
And if you attend this event...
You're basically saying that you're with these
the
people.
optics will not work in your favor.
Yeah.
So you're better off. There are people who can weather the storm.
People who can play that game.
Yes, and
they
survive locusts. Okay? Not all the political bigwigs in this country can. You can't appear to be joining because who is joining who? If Raila goes to Kalonzo's function, is he joining Kalonzo or is he supporting Kalonzo? If Kalonzo comes for Raila's function, is he supporting Raila or joining Raila? You see the optics?
Yes.
So, it is in their interest to do what they're doing.
Reminds me of 2012.
Yes.
Jivanji Gardens. There's a party called URP.
Yeah.
And there's a party called TNA.
Yes.
And several other smaller parties.
Yeah. Very many other smaller parties.
They have called a meeting at Jivanji Gardens and they want to sign a pact.
Yes, they
a
do.
coalition, which they are going to call the Jubilee Coalition to vie for the presidency. The meeting took a while to begin. And word around there was that they were waiting for one other leader of a political party to come and join them. That leader did not come. So they signed the pact as the sun was setting. The following day, another coalition was forming at KICC called CORD. And this particular political party leader was seen in that meeting. Her name is Charity Ngilu, the leader of NARC. She was expected in the Jubilee meeting. She didn't appear. Then at the CORD meeting, she was seen. You know, she saw people signing the agreement. She was there, standing.
And lo and behold,
when
the dust settled.
Next thing, there's now a Jubilee meeting in Kasarani. Ngilu is there. Next thing, there is marketing material for Jubilee. And there are 4 principals in Jubilee. Uhuru, Ruto, Balala, Ngilu. Together, taking a photo.
Now tell me.
It's called being a wily politician.
Yes, you bargain.
Looking at it, okay, so what are you guys offering me?
Okay.
What are you guys offering me? Okay.
Fine, let's see. And remember, prior to the alignments you speak of, the same said politician had been on another side, which represented the other side, which was meeting at KICC. Politics.
Yes.
History helps a great deal in understanding these things. So right now, these are just maneuvers and bargaining.
Yeah, there's a lot of time.
So let's take a break. Then at 26 minutes to 7, is it going to be a surprise? What's likely to be the major declaration that's made at Kasarani this afternoon? Ndu Okoh is not sure. It could be, maybe Raila is going to say yes to the presidency.
Or he's going to support somebody else.
No. Sweetie, what do you think? He's not very sure.
Eric, what is there to think?
Yeah. You can see the rays from the east. Is the sun going to rise or is it not?
In which direction is the wind blowing?
The sun is not going to rise today.
Or maybe the sun is going to set in the south.
Oh, yes. 26 to 7.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. 24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
Famous, the secrets we keep, live La Liga action. Offer Showmax Black Friday special imeingia. Lipa for 1 month and get a second month sari. Yani 2 whole months of the biggest shows in Kenya, na English Premier League futa and lots more. Zote kwa 1 low price only on Showmax. Offer inachomoka soon, so sign up chap at showmax.com.
Your home is your sanctuary. This Saturday, I, Olivia Otieno, host Terry-Ann Chibet, Mandy Saro, Claire Odongo. Get the best out of the space you call home. From 10 a.m. this Saturday on 94.4 Spice FM live stream on standardmedia.co.ke. Your home, your sanctuary. A special 00 Direct brought to you by Mabati Rolling Mills.
Okay, traffic is building up on Jogoro this morning already. Going out into the city slows down a little bit at the City Stadium roundabout. But then as you get onto Landis and out through to the Kamkunji roundabout, that then becomes a little more sticky. Langata Road also quite some traffic there. And we're looking at Mombasa Road all the way from Sabaki this morning and taking you through towards Imaradime is where you'll have most of the traffic. North Airport Road looking pretty good, at least for now. At the AP Training College on the Eastern Bypass is where things also slow down. Thika Superhighway is looking pretty good in and outbound, except right there. Coming off of Outer Ring, it slows down a little bit, and also around Pangani. So things have not yet started. Looks like we'll have a late start to traffic this morning. Also remembering that there's a sprinkle in most parts of the city. And so that's going to slow things down because the roads are slippery. Please be careful as you traverse back and forth. Let's hear from you guys, just in case anything is out of whack. SpiceFMKE on Twitter. Text on 40127. Let's keep things moving.
Okay, so we've said a number of things about Showmax so far, right? Number one, www.showmax.com. You go and get all the information that you need. But then number two, something that stood out for you on Showmax.
The highlights of things that you can see from popular programs. I think that was really cool. Because, look, BBN Niger was quite a thing, right? And so they're able to come out.
You're watching Big Brother? Big Brother Niger live on Showmax.
And then you could see the highlights. And then you could see other content that other folks then couldn't watch, but it was available on Showmax. I thought that was pretty cool. So shows...
What did they have? Like shower hour?
Things like that. So
Okay.
the highlights and, stuff that everybody else couldn't see then were available on Showmax. And then you could, and the great thing is that you could watch it while it was live, but then you could catch up later. And so I thought that was really cool. So really, when they say your favorite programs are available, they actually are available. And you don't have to... You can watch on the go, in real time, save it for later.
But what is of interest also is that when one hears of Showmax, one thinks of movies, it is not the only thing that's available on Showmax. No. Sports, documentaries, yes, lifestyle. I mean, the array is at the very least impressive.
Yep.
So you could say, arguably, you will be spoiled for choice.
Yes, kabisa. Showmax, www.showmax.com.
Spice FM. Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
21
Nairobi.
minutes to 7. Yesterday we spoke about this lady who was being sought by the court, Mary Wamboi Mungai. And she had not appeared in court as was expected. Now, yesterday, businesswoman Mary Wamboi and her daughter Purity Njoki were charged with tax evasion amounting to 6.7 billion shillings. Their lives on the run for 3 days following a warrant of arrest, which was issued against them on Monday, came to an end when they presented themselves before court, personally. This happened the day after they evaded a police dragnet at their hideout at Western Hotel on Wednesday night. They arrived in court in long black dresses with headgear covering their faces, and it was not until the anti-corruption chief magistrate Felix Kombo ordered that they uncover their faces that they became visible. Wamboi, her daughter, and their company Palmer Holdings Limited were charged with a total of 8 counts of failing to pay taxes and file tax returns. In count 1, the two and the company were accused of omitting from the tax returns 2.2 billion shillings payable to the taxman. Okay? Now listen to this. In June 2015, within Nairobi, you knowingly and unlawfully omitted from the company's income tax returns 2.2 million shillings. 2.2 billion shillings. Now, income tax is 30% of income. Right? Of profit. 2.2 billion shillings is expected here to be 30% of the profit that you've made in that particular year. 6 billion. This first count in 2015, 2.2 billion.
Yes, you mean
so the full amount is 6 billion is your profit that you made.
6.34 billion, yeah.
Higher. The second count alleges that Wamboi and her daughter omitted to pay 352 million shillings, which should have been included in their 2015 tax returns, and another 833 million shillings from their 2016 income. In 2016, you should have paid a tax of 833 million shillings. 2017, KRA alleges that the two failed to pay taxes amounting to 147 million shillings and 996 million for the 2018 financial year. And it goes on and on. all tax due, according to the allegation by KRA, is 6.7 billion shillings.
I do not doubt that KRA are doing what they normally do. Are you telling us that of all the Kenyans who are involved in the sort of business this lady is involved in, that they all pay their taxes regularly and that they declare whatever is due to KRA regularly and that there isn't a spot of blemish on them? I think not.
No.
I think not.
Even KRA hasn't said that these are the only ones.
Of course they haven't said, but by their silence they're suggestive, are they not?
No, they're investigating.
Of course they're investigating, and this is the only person they could investigate.
No,
This is
there
the
are
only
others.
person who was
this
easy
is
to
among the
investigate.
many.
There are others.
It's among the many.
Why her? Why now?
that
And
is
why
that.
is it that yesterday it was featured again in one of the dailies that she had been hiding in a hotel owned by a prominent politician in this country? Why?
So there's a connection here.
I am asking the question, why?
So it's basically saying, why is it that people who are aligned to, people who are being taken to court seem to have one side?
No, hiding in someone's hotel doesn't mean you're aligned. But why? Because why? I'm simply saying too many coincidences. Too many coincidences. You know, far be it from me to go around deriding this individual and saying it isn't possible for somebody to have risen to the point where she had risen and done what she did. No. Far be it from me to say that. It is possible.
Yes.
We've heard people becoming billionaires by selling eggs.
Yes.
We've heard people become billionaires by selling charcoal. We've heard.
And golf balls.
And golf balls. Whether they actually did it is a different story, but we've heard.
Yes.
Okay? So if somebody was actually working at Afia House, which has billions and billions of shillings in terms of money that they need to expend, it is possible that somebody took a slice of it. That one I get. And if she was the right person to take the slice, so be it. Why her? Why now? And against a backdrop of all the issues from MES to KEMSA, names are mentioned, it just floats and it just goes in and out and it's a discussion, disappears. And now this one, it has caught on, it isn't budging.
Ili iwe funzo.
Kwa watu wenye tabia kama hizi.
Yes. Grab a big one, set an example.
Yeah,
Grab a big one, set as an example.
You know what I'm saying? I'm actually saying this is not a big one. That's really what I'm saying.
Yeah, this is not a big one.
Can't be.
Nikwambie kitu ingine or you want to go?
Tuambie kitu ingine.
Sema.
Schools vow to defy the state and close before December 23rd. All right. December 23rd was the day we were supposed to close, which is Friday, and then come back to school just a week later. A number of schools will defy the Ministry of Education guidelines on the closing date for Term 2 and release learners to go home on various dates beginning next week. Schools the nation talked to said they will close before the official date of December 23rd, which would reduce an already short term by almost a week. Many private schools will close next week alongside a few public schools, while others have informed parents and guardians that their children will go home the following week. Yesterday, Basic Education Principal Secretary Julius Juan insisted that schools would comply with the dates that were set when the ministry reorganized the school calendar to make up for the time lost last year when learners stayed out of school for 10 months. He said, "We've not changed the schedule for the term. If there were to be any change, they would have been communicated by me." Well, shock on you, sir. "We expect schools to follow the circular, but the preceding statement is clear that they are not going to follow this circular. They will close before the 23rd. There seems to be a lot of tension, and what is going to diffuse this tension bubble is closing early.
Let them go
That
home.
is the pin that you're putting in this balloon. Close early, because this drama is just becoming too much. Now, private schools have joined this, and they say, okay, all right, we too will probably close a week earlier
we can
to
go
just
home.
remove some of this pressure.
Yeah,
We
let the
can
children
home
go
and then
home.
regroup after the new year. We come back and we face the thing.
What's interesting is that some schools are actually conducting referenda.
In their schools,
In the schools.
Yeah.
The students that want to go home,
say aye.
Say aye.
Say aye.
People who don't want to go, say nay.
Say nay.
Ayes took the day.
The
in a lot
ayes
of
took the day
cases.
and the ayes went home. The nays were told, you want to stay. It's okay.
Traditionally, the days before Christmas are hectic, right? Many people traveling up country to various holiday destinations, and fares will shoot up. So the schools will close December 17th, a week in advance, but the girls will leave the school on the 18th so that people can start, sending fare early. This was one school in Bunyore, for example. Another message from Kisi schools to parents: end of term exams are going on right now. A week early, by the way. End of term exams in a lot of schools are taking place right now. And they will be closing on Monday, the 20th of December. Boys will leave for the holiday Tuesday early in the morning. Plan for their travel home. So it's not can we? No. Exams, we've brought them forward. We are doing them.
Just go
Carry
home.
your children. Come back later.
Rather than go home.
So Joanne is here saying the dates remain as schools.
So
are
the
carrying
government is
on
basically
as if there's
insisting,
no
no,
Joanne.
as far as we are concerned, schools close
Close
on
the
these
23rd.
dates. The heads are telling the government, as far as we are concerned, the children want
We're
to go
doing
home.
exams now. As far as we're concerned, exams are ongoing. So as you're saying what you're saying, we're writing exams. And as is the tradition, once we finish writing exams, we do what?
You close.
You know, this is a good thing.
What is a good thing?
What we're seeing.
The defiance by the head teachers, the
Yes, I'm going
government.
to explain what I mean. What is good about it? Huh? In case our politicians and those in leadership within government fail to understand the power of example, here it is. You disobey court orders openly, willy-nilly. You disregard dictates that are set down. Monies that are supposed to go to schools for development, monies that are supposed to go to the counties, everything that's supposed to happen doesn't happen. Every once in a while, you explain away the things you ought to have done, you didn't do. What you're seeing are your citizens saying, sir, sirs, madams, we're following in your example.
Atupangwingwi.
Yes. We are just so that you know that we've been watching
We're
and
together.
observing.
We're together.
Are we together?
We are together.
Yes, we are together.
Sir.
This is what you're saying. And the students who are our children are also saying, even us, we're together with you. See, we're talking referendum, constitution. Is it? In fact, I would argue that this public participation exercise that we're seeing is going to continue. Woe betide you when you do something and you think it
would end
remains
with
within the
going home.
precincts of where you do it. This one has cascaded to the common mwananchi who is now the pupil. Now you tell me, these are young people who are yet to become adults. What do you think is going to become of these people?
Any
This is
decision going
anarchy
forward.
in the making.
Any decision going forward. You think you'll just come and tell
You
them
are
this is what
not
we're
going to
do?
tell
This is
anybody.
anarchy in the making.
Thank you.
There's
will
one
come
day
out.
that the pupils and students will walk out and say, we're not doing that math.
That's no, we're not even sitting
We
in
looked at that
KCSE.
question number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and we
Forget
didn't like it.
We're not doing it.
We're not doing that
We're not
exam.
doing it. It's Lord of the Flies all over again, and you will get your own leader, and he will have his conch horn, and he will be the one to blow, and you will listen to that leader. That's the way it's going to be. Anarchy at its best is being practiced right here.
It's 11 minutes to 7.
"24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
Bro, na si watu wamejenga manyumba hii area. Kwanza angalia ile. Are you seeing that roof? That color? Sio ni nyumba mpya?
That's not a new house, bro. That's a Covermax roof.
Covermax?
Covermax. It's more than just a roof. It's color that lasts. Ukiweka, umeweka.
So whose new house is that anyway? Really nice.
Ni yangu.
How's that possible?
Good choice from me. Covermax didn't let me down. It's good to have a long-lasting roof when you have a family, you know? Covermax roofing sheets with advanced color coating technology. A quality product from Mabati Rolling Mills.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
10 to 7. City, what's in the papers?
Right on, my brother. Right on. Now,
Wait. Go on.
sorry, you asking something?
No.
Mimi.
I saw a red headline and I was wondering, huh?
No. I was looking at the Nairobian, and I was looking at the story of Mwende.
Mwende, no.
That's the lady whose hands were chopped off. Okay.
Bye.
Husband, no?
No less. And it was better to be alive single than die in a toxic union. Mwende. That's what I was actually looking at. Huh? Now she's saying my life has been condemned to disability, which brings me down every time. There's the reason why I seemed so focused on that story is I was looking at the implications of these things. Today we're going to be talking about gender-based violence. Huh? Gender-based violence is actually not a problem, it's a symptom. It tells you of an underlying issue that has gone unresolved for a very long time and is manifesting itself in that. And that we notice and we see crimes being meted out on women really cruel, really atrocious crimes, again, it is symptomatic of a far deeper problem. You have to ask yourself, what is it? Now, the what is it and what ails the country boils down to what we've discussed on many occasions called mental health, right? If it takes the example of someone like Mwende to paint a picture of the outcome, her, gracefully she says she's alive, which is good, but not in the form that God created her.
No.
Now, look at Mwende's life, the disfigurement and the disability that she has acquired. And I was thinking as you were talking, that disability represents the disability of the Kenyan society. Our hands have been chopped up at some level. Our faces have been scarred at some level. But what is worse is that what has been bequeathed to us is a poverty of spirit. When you are lied to constantly and constantly, you get to a point where you no longer know what to believe and what not to believe. Now, despair, remember the chaos that you're talking about, the anarchy? This isn't a far-fetched notion. It's a reality that is with us. And what do you think is bringing it about? All these things we keep talking about and seeing and imbibing, you really think younger members of our society whose minds are freer and who are more explorative than us, you think they don't see and understand these things? Of course they do. Now, the adults who are perpetrating the crimes we speak of were also once young. So if it happened to them and the numbers are small, we're saying the numbers are growing.
Where? You know, as we also talk about Mwende and those others, it's very unfortunate incidences that have taken place. Let's also, I think in the same breath, mention the men who've also suffered greatly in gender-based violence.
Yes.
There have been cases, and they're just reported and they're passed on like they are not big cases.
Not
Somebody
highlighted.
who lost their manhood in the hands of their wife.
Somebody who was doused in kerosene and set ablaze.
Yep.
A man in his home.
Yep.
By his wife.
By his wife. Those are equally as grave as the ones that we talk about.
You know, when you find that we are doing a balancing act as to which particular activity is more atrocious and gruesome than the other, we really have a problem.
Yeah, yeah. Yep. Or that you're able to cite one that was worse than the other.
Yes.
That means it exists and this thing actually happened.
And what about
Then
the
we're
ones
in-
you've not heard of?
Exactly.
Many. Now, I have two stories. One is this whole issue of vaccine and vaccine access, okay? If you want to dine or stay at any of the Sarova hotels, resorts and game lodges, don't leave home without your Ministry of Health vaccination certificates. The hotel said yesterday that people who have not been vaccinated will not be allowed on its premises. It says it's following a government directive making it mandatory for Kenyans to have a vaccine certificate to access in-person services from December. Imagine. So this is a business that had decided, you know what, we are now going to allow patrons to any of our facilities if they don't have a COVID-19 vaccine certificate. This one is going, although they keep posting those things of management reserves the right of admission.
But admission, yeah.
What? Let's see how this one
is
plays
up a
out.
notch.
Let's see. Okay, second story. The Parliamentary Budget Office has advised the National Treasury to reschedule payments of domestic debts to ease the burden on taxpayers as expenditure on loan repayments crosses the 1 trillion shilling mark in the coming financial year. Projections by this office, which is mandated to independently scrutinize the Treasury's expenditure plans, indicate that Kenya will borrow 1.1 trillion shillings in the current financial year, raising the total public debt to 8.8 trillion by June next year. Debt servicing costs will rise sharply to 1.36 trillion. That's 10% of our GDP in the 2022-2023 financial year, and a 77% growth from the 765 billion spent by the government servicing loans in 2020-2021. So the Budget Office is saying, by the way, now that we are doing like this, Parliament, please work on how to reschedule the debt repayments. Because you've borrowed, yes, but reschedule the debt repayments. Otherwise, all the money that we'll be collecting from tax, 1.6 trillion,
It's going to go
1
to that.
trillion will be going to pay debt.
Yep.
600 billion is what will be left to operate
To do
with.
everything.
That means you have to borrow more to be able to run a government. So, tusipojipanga, tutapangwa. Long and short of it. Business Daily?
No, I didn't get the
Oh, you don't have it today?
No, my person was chased away by rain.
Oh, actually, it was raining heavily this morning.
They were simply not there. So my people was not there.
Okay. Okay. But there's another story that you're looking at.
Yes, I'm looking at East African, actually. And I'm looking at Uganda raids ADF bases in eastern DRC. There's a problem along the borders of DRC with Uganda and with Rwanda.
Yes.
When Rwanda had its issues after the genocide, many of the perpetrators ran to DRC.
Yes.
Uganda also has communities that have been opposed to this particular government, and it's ongoing.
Yes.
Why do I mention this? I mention this because we are talking about it as though it's some remote incidents, but East Africa is actually on the verge of turmoil. Somalia is what it is. Ethiopia is where it is. Southern Sudan is what it is. Sudan itself is what it is. And now we see these problems in the borders of DRC and Rwanda. And if you look at all these problems, somewhere along the line, there's always the issue of what could have been done but was not done. An approach that could have been accommodated but wasn't accommodated. A view that could have been taken into account but wasn't. Human beings at their very worst.
Yeah. Final.
Well, it's another education story, but just really quickly, varsity staff are now saying that they're going to strike because they've not been paid and their arrears are at 1.7 billion shillings. Lecturers and non-academic staff in public universities around the country, interestingly enough, have threatened to down their tools and paralyze operations next year. So, I mean, this year obviously is done, right?
Yeah.
Unless they are paid their salary arrears amounting to 1.652 billion. They held a press briefing yesterday and they said that, you know what, release the money without delay, otherwise we will not come back. So we're talking about the academic staff unions of University of Nairobi, and of those universities in Nairobi, the Kenya University Staff Union and the Kenya Union of Domestic Hotels and Education Institutions and Hospital Workers. They demanded that a centralized payroll be created to ensure that all workers in the same job group get the same amount in salaries across public universities. And so they're putting their foot down yet again and saying, you know what, you don't pay us these arrears. We're not even talking about CBAs. We're not even talking about, if you don't pay us these arrears, we will not come to school come January.
You know, this is against a backdrop in just 10 seconds of monies that public institutions and parastatals actually owe in back taxes and statutory deductions. And it's in the hundreds of billions of Kenya shillings. It's a
The year is going to start with a bang.
The year is going to end with a bang.
This one is, I'm just telling you, it's okay. Now, you know that how we started when you're saying, you know, it's in December, things are not going to, we're going to have. It's okay, no problem. Let's give you this December. January.
Everything comes to a head.
Yeah.
Keep it right here. This is Kenya's biggest conversation at the Situation Room. In the next hour, we're going to have some guests keeping the commitment to end gender-based violence on International Human Rights Day. Today is International Human Rights Day, and we want to talk about commitments on ending gender-based violence. As we're talking about it, we'll have this more conversations with our guests. It's now 7 a.m. Good morning.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Ford Kenya party leader Moses Wetangula has followed in NAI's One Kenya Alliance co-principal Musalia Mudavadi's footsteps, saying he will also not attend Raila Odinga's Azimio la Umoja convention. Wetangula, who is also the Bungoma senator, turned down Odinga's invite due to what he termed as prior engagement. Mudavadi turned down the invite to the conference at Kasarani Stadium, where Odinga is expected to formally announce his candidature for presidency. Mudavadi said he will be tied down with personal engagements on the said day. While referring to Odinga as a noteworthy competitor, the ANC party boss wished him success on his day. Police in Kisii are looking for a middle-aged woman who was captured on CCTV footage dumping a month-old baby inside Ram Hospital's theatre room within Kisii town. Confirming the incident, Kisii Central OCPD Peter Kimani said a hunt is underway for the woman who stayed for 40 minutes within the hospital premises. According to the hospital's administrator Enoka Bobo, the woman was captured at the hospital's reception and along the corridors carrying a baby before abandoning him at the theatre room without the knowledge of the security officers manning the facility. The young angel has now been christened Gift. It still remains unclear as to why the newborn was dumped within the hospital. A petition has been filed in court seeking the removal of Judge Maureen Onyango of the Employment and Labour Relations Court. The petition by MAO advocates is in respect to a case that was filed before a Nakuru law court between Kachwai and the Union of Kenya Civil Servants. MAO advocates argue that on 1st of August this year, they filed a case before the Nakuru court seeking orders to stop the election of Union of Kenya Civil Servants. The file was placed before Duty Judge Justice Mbaru Monica, who directed that the matter be heard on the 18th of August this year. They argued that the matter was not listed before the duty judges earlier directed by the court and the file could not be traced from the registry. They argued that they decided to write to the Chief Justice requesting assistance in locating the file. According to the advocates, they were shocked by the development and puzzled as to how the file ended before Justice Maureen Onyango under mysterious circumstances. Now, 2 police officers accused of murdering a casual laborer in Kinangop, Nyandarua County 6 months ago are fit to stand trial. The 2, Luka Kiragu and Maurice Muthui, who were police constables, were declared to be mentally stable following a medical checkup conducted in Gilgil Sub-County Hospital. The 2 will now take a plea at the High Court in Naivasha on the 14th of December after they were charged with the murder of a 35-year-old Daniel Emoji on June 22nd in Tulaga Center in Kinangop. The 2 who appeared before Naivasha Senior Resident Magistrate Esther Mburu have been remanded at Naivasha GK prison until next week when they will take a plea. The prosecution said that it was ready to charge the officers with the murder following the medical report that was adduced in court. The World Food Programme has suspended food distribution in Ethiopia's Kombolcha and Desi towns after looting of supplies that staff are unable to stop due to intimidation, including being held at gunpoint. UN spokesperson Stefan Dujarric said a large quantity of humanitarian food supplies, including nutritional items for malnourished children, was stolen and looted in Kombolcha in the Amhara region. The looting and intimidation will worsen malnutrition and prolong food insecurity in northern Ethiopia, where an estimated 9.4 million people across the Tigray, Amhara and Afar regions need critical food assistance. South Africa recorded more than 20,000 new coronavirus cases, nearly double the number from 1 week earlier. The government is making a renewed push for people to get vaccinated, but so far is avoiding new lockdown measures in an effort to protect the economy. Coronavirus cases are rising dramatically in South Africa, with over 113,000 people currently infected. Experts say the Omicron variant discovered in South Africa last month is likely driving the latest wave. But Minister Mondi Gungubele said that the government is trying to avoid strict lockdown measures. The South African government is championing vaccinations in order to protect more people from severe illness. The efforts appear to be working, with more than 133,000 people receiving a shot, which means 43% of adults have at least had one dose. And New Zealand's government believes it has come up with a unique plan to end tobacco smoking, a lifetime ban for those 14 or younger. And a new law the government announced Thursday and plans to pass next year, the minimum age to buy cigarettes would keep rising year after year. That means, in theory, at least 65 years after the law takes effect, shoppers could still buy cigarettes, but only if they could prove they were at least 80 years old. In practice, officials hope smoking will fade away decades before then. The plan sets a goal of having fewer than 5% of New Zealanders smoking by 2025. To sports, and the league action continues across the 3 tiers of Kenya Club competition this weekend, with fixtures lined up in the Kenya Cup and KRU Champions as well as the KRU National Regional Leagues. Homeboys and Black Blood get Kenya Cup action underway tomorrow when they face off in the early kickoff at KCB Sports Club in Ruaraka. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
All right, a bit of a sprinkle in certain parts of the city this morning. And now is when we've seen a lot of traffic has built up a few minutes after 7 o'clock. Let's look at Jogo Road, where it's quite packed getting into the city. That circuit then of Lunga Lunga, Likoni and Lusaka spilling over a little bit onto the southern bypass. That's the Likoni Exchange on Mombasa Road, but not too crazy for now. Where it does absolutely look crazy is Langata Road. We're looking at Uhuru Highway then after the Nyeri Stadium roundabout heading into the city. That is pretty slow. CBD is also taking a big hit today. Thika Superhighway not looking too bad, but there is bumper to bumper major traffic just after the Utali Drift, and we're looking at that connecting with what's coming off of Kiambu Road. Limuru Road started really early, and that's jam-packed. We're looking at that whole area then of James Gishuru getting onto Waiaki Way. Quite a lot of traffic this morning. Don't forget, use the Red Hill Link Road. It'll take you out of that traffic madness. Also, the bypass is looking pretty good this morning. Southern bypass, not too bad. The eastern bypass, though, a little bit of traffic there as you head out to that direction. So let's watch out for that. Remember, the roads are slippery, guys, so you want to be careful. Talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Very good morning to you, and how are you doing? 8 minutes after 7. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room, broadcasting on SpiceFM in Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu, Nakuru, Eldoret, Nyeri, Malindi, and we are all over the world on SpiceFM KE on YouTube. We're live streaming on Facebook, and we're also live streaming on Twitter. So you can catch the show from wherever you are. And we know that we've got some audience, people tuning in from Zambia this morning, as well as South Africa, as well as Australia, and our friends in New Zealand. Good morning, everybody. Today is the International Human Rights Day. So happy International Human Rights Day. We're going to have a conversation about ending gender-based violence. But let's begin with the day's proverb, City.
Kaa na mwimbaji na utaimba wimbo.
Kaa na mwimbaji na utaimba wimbo. Some sort of reminded me of a program I used to listen to on KBC VOK. Wimbo ni upendao. Remember on Sunday afternoons? Na mchungaji Christopher Arab Muthui.
Ni sawa.
Ni sawa? Yeah. So our guest for this conversation, Angelina Sikanda, she's a program development manager at Crew Kenya. She joins us via video link. Good morning, Angelina.
Good morning, Eric. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Good to have you on the show. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation, and happy International Human Rights Day.
Happy International Human Rights Day to you too.
And Isabella Mwangi, program officer at the same organization, Crew, is joining us live in the studio. Good morning, Isabella.
Good morning.
Good to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
This is Kenya's biggest conversation, and we call that the hot seat. But now, because you're sharing the seat with two others, we shall just call that hot seat A.
Wow.
Main hot seat. Main hot seat, because you came and sat on it. We'll be joined shortly by Judy Gitao. She's the regional coordinator for Equality Now. And the conversation we're having is on ending gender-based violence. Today being the last day of the 16 days of activism on gender-based violence. They began on the 25th of November, the International Day for Elimination of Violence Against Women. And they've been running until today, the 10th of December, International Human Rights Day. City.
You know, every time we talk about gender-based violence, you see where my mind goes to is, how did it come about? Why did it get to a point where anytime you're talking about violence and gender-based violence, you talk about it in the absence of the genesis and in the absence of the contributory factors. The question that I wanted to ask Judy Gitau, but Judy isn't here. Nonetheless, since you are here, I will ask you. There is this concept of a generational equality. Okay?
Yeah.
In your mind, is it something that is achievable? And in which generation do you think it will be achievable?
Right. Thank you very much. And as the name suggests, generation equality. So one, the whole idea is it might not be achieved within my generation, but then it is to be achieved within subsequent generations. So it could be achieved, some of these commitments could be achieved within our kids' generation or our grandchildren's generation. And so ideally, FGM should end by next year, which is 2022, as Uhuru had committed. Gender-based violence should end by 2026. Whether it will have ended by then, that we are waiting for that, because there are a lot of structures that need to be put in place, bold investments as they have been proclaimed, but then we need to see them translate. But what we can say is the initiatives are good, they are bold, would want to see them actualized. I can assure you by 2022, FGM will not have been eradicated, but it will have reduced. By 2026, we might not have gender-based violence eradicated, but we'll definitely would want to see the numbers come down, because currently, as we speak, there's a surge. And so the whole concept is it's not to be done this generation, but it's a conversation that needs to continue among several generations.
All right, so then I guess, to you, Angelina, so what are some of the interventions that CREW as an organization is undertaking to ensure the actualization of this? Because we talk about, all right, it's possible that we will not have reached the numbers that we want to reach by 2022, 2026. But obviously there are things that are being done, right? So what are some of those things that are being done then to keep this commitment?
Right, thank you for that. So some of the things that are happening is that one, government has committed money towards this whole process of addressing gender-based violence. We as an institution have made addressing gender-based violence a component of our work, and we are resourcing that kind of work, being able to make sure that every woman, girl, man out there is able to access legal services, is able to access psychosocial services, especially those who have gone through violations. We're able to engage in a conversation around prevention, because the bigger issue is about how do you make sure people are not violated. So we're engaging in that kind of intervention, where we are trying to teach ourselves new behaviors of engaging, of addressing conflict, so that violence does not become an option. We have also put in a hotline where you're able to access services that are required from the health, to access to justice, that is the judiciary, to be able to navigate through the process within the different sectors, and make sure that we save as many lives as we can in this process. We know the government has also put out a model called Policare, which is supposed to be able to support with a one-stop care service for survivors of gender-based violence. So we are working with government to support that kind of an intervention, so that survivors have an easier time trying to access services. Two, we start transforming our sectors in terms of looking at spaces where we can be able to prevent, but also attend in a dignified manner to the survivors. So as an institution, this is something that's very dear to us. We've been doing it for quite some time, and so we're just happy that the GEF then brings government to work together with us as civil society in addressing this particular issue that's really getting out of hand in our country.
Today is International Human Rights Day, and this question then comes to Isabella. So what does this day entail, and how does it tie in with the Generation Equality campaign?
So International Human Rights Day was first established in 1948. And so what we are celebrating is something that started a long time ago during the World Wars. And every year we have a different theme. And for 2021, the theme this year around is largely around ensuring that we are creating safer and fairer societies for future generations. And so that now ties in with the generation equality, because we are ensuring that we are not just creating a future on a fair justice system now that is going to take care of us now, but we want to be able to forecast and be able to ensure that my children's children are able to come and find a system that is going to flow in terms of ensuring human rights are there too. And this is critical because when we talk about human rights, we are talking about the core fundamental rights and freedoms, the ones that you cannot absolutely do without. And Kenya, especially in Africa, Kenya is one of those countries that has enjoyed human rights and democracy largely. If you see have whole conversations with other countries where we have this legal discourse of how they keep asking us, how are you able to go on Twitter and say something about your president and sleep at night? Well, where else in other countries that wouldn't be happening. And so that type of democracy, that type of right, freedom of expression, a right to food, housing, we want to ensure that by the time other generations come in, they're going to find a foundation that is well developed. And so that's how it ties in with generation equality, because we are securing a future for the generation to come.
Our other guest now joins us in the studio. Judy Gitau is the Regional Coordinator for Equality Now. Welcome, Judy.
Thank you.
Traffic.
Lots of traffic.
And it's raining.
It is.
And this is Nairobi. And we are constructing the expressway. So all those things, put them together, and you experience what you've experienced.
I did. I'm sorry.
Paul Sana.
Oh, no. It is us who are commiserating with you.
Yes. For what you've gone through.
Yes.
Yeah.
We apologize.
I think you deserve coffee. Like good
you
strong
do, right? Yes. You'll get some very good coffee shortly. So tell us about Equality Now.
Well, Equality Now is an international women's rights organization that works for a just world for women and girls. And in doing so, we work on ending sexual violence. We work on ending sex trafficking. We work on, shall we say, ending harmful practices, but specifically child marriage and female genital mutilation. And finally, we work on ending inequality in law, so legal equality, where men and women have equal rights in the law.
So, there's a specific case been made by, or being experienced and being made by Equality Now. Can you tell us on FGM specifically? Hopefully, as we have said before, it's hopeful that we'll end by 2022, but probably not likely.
In the next 20 days.
Yeah. But probably not likely. So what are you seeing in terms of the practice and the hopeful end to it?
Well, let me start by saying, in as much as we're saying it's not likely, it's good to start with political will. It's good to start with an aspiration. It's good to start with a foundation that says that we will end it, because then we'll have state actors aligning the legal frameworks, aligning the policies, aligning different government departments and so on to work towards ending female genital mutilation. But having said that, especially in the context of, for example, COVID-19, we've seen violations being exacerbated, if you will. For instance, as soon as COVID began, it was when the first case was announced, was it March 2020? At the end of that month, we were being called as an institution to rescue girls in Kajiado who had been cut and were being transitioned into marriage. And in other parts, we had statistics of up to 75 because schools had subsequently schools closed under the cover of girls not going to school, and therefore people not being able to track whether or not they're being married off or being cut. About 75 girls in Samburu had been again mapped out for cutting and then subsequently being married off. And so the numbers are high. And so what we are working with is not just the existing of a legal framework. We need to change mindsets. We need people to understand that that which is their culture is not good. Is indeed it's a violation, and it comes to torture. A second angle to it is we have to fight emerging issues, emerging discussions. I'm not sure you may know this, but about 3 years ago now, I think, a female doctor filed a case in court seeking for FGM to be legalized. Yeah. And so you find then the discussion becomes Dr. Tatu Kamau, and the discussion then becomes, is it that we are violating African culture? And the Constitution provides in 10 in our values, in Article 10, our values values. So these are our values. What then happens, and so on and so forth. And on the one hand, you're fighting, people who already think it's part of culture, and on the other, you're fighting people who are elite, who begin to perhaps file, if you will, academic litigation cases in court to sort of prove a point and erode the work that's been ongoing. But there is hope. Numbers in Kenya have been decreasing, which is good. And within the context, as we're talking about Generation Equality Forum, we have 12 key commitments by the government, amongst which FGM is one, where we are hoping that the resources that have been committed, including $23 million, go towards addressing this as a fundamental issue.
You have to ask this question. FGM is a symptom of a much larger problem. The perpetration of it, generally gender-based violence. What I'd like to know is, what have we done to understand the root causes of these things and to put a halt to that? Because if you put a halt to that, everything else that we're saying then becomes infinitely easier. But if we just tackle the symptom, the problem remains unmoved.
That's an excellent observation. And so there's two sides indeed of the coin. There's the drivers that are bringing us to this point, but then there's the survivors who are now on this end that must be responded to. And indeed, a lot of our discussions speak to the actions that are being done to respond to the survivors, who are many in number. But let's come this way in terms of drivers. This patriarchy, social norms that are a part of us. I mean, I like saying this, and I've said it perhaps too many times, that there's usually, within our communities, a discussion as though rights are 10 bowls in a bucket, that if women get 6, men only have 4. That is the attitude with which we come to the table. When we're born, we're not having that discussion, but no sooner than, and that's what we begin thinking, and then we begin competing, and then we have gender roles. Gender is a social construct. I mean, if you go to a different country, the attitudes and the conduct of a man in Kenya is not necessarily the attitudes and the conduct of a man in Nigeria, for example. Sure. And so you find that boys are told different things and girls are told different things. And the attributes, for example, boys are assertive. And so if you find a girl who's assertive, the question is, what's your problem? And so all of these things build up to a point that when we're now competing, quote unquote, for our rights, then men begin exerting themselves because they understand this to be their role as of right.
Yeah, the question now begins, what about the boy child?
Absolutely. And yet, again, bowls are not 10. Go for your rights. Nobody is stopping you from accessing education as a man. If we're saying we're increasing X funds for girls to go to school because majority have been, waylaid by pregnancies and so on, nobody has stopped the boys from going to school. Go to school, let's meet at the top. If we're saying we're addressing female genital mutilation, if we're saying we're addressing child marriage, tell me, how many boys are married off at 12? So at the end of the day, it's not that anybody is standing in the way of men and boys from accessing their rights. In fact, we encourage them to join us at the top. The idea is, let's the underlying issues and underlying causes speak to our culture, speak to our norms, speak to the values that are entrenched and are kept and are curated, if you will, by tradition and so on, resulting in what we are seeing today. And so that indeed needs to be addressed. And believe it or not, as we're championing this GEF discourse, amongst the funds is addressing and research into that. Commitment of I think 1 million per year to research into GBV and GBV causes, and so to be able to specifically and directly address them. As we go along.
So today is International Human Rights Day. Isabella, how does this then tie into International Human Rights Day, even as we commemorate the day, and we're looking at all these other things that either must end, or themes that are then being introduced, actions that are being taken? How do all of these things tie in?
So one of the things that, how it's able to tie in is, one, we are able to talk about catalyzing collaborative action. We are able to ensure that all actors come into play, and we have one common agenda. So what GF has done for us this time round is list our issues, articulate what we want, and so we have one common agenda, we have one common message this time round. Unlike other times when everyone has always come in with their interests, this time it's very clear this is where the government wants to head. This is also in line with where the society wants to head. So there is that collective action. Then the second thing is that it is sparking continuous conversation globally, regionally, and locally. And this time around, because we are very clear on what we want, the conversation is centered. We are not waylaid by other things that come along. This time around, we have ensured politics does not come into play within the 16 days of activism, which always tends to happen. So we are it has been able to establish that the conversation is the 12 commitments, very clear in terms of these 12 commitments is something that that is going to help the society. And as Judy has said, not just look at it from a legal aspect, but we're able to change their hearts and minds. And that is where it all begins. And then in regards to the conversation ongoing, it then sparks the ideas of how do we invest to ensure that there's implementation of these 12 commitments. And then lastly, there's the issue of being able to deliver concrete actions to ensure that both women and girls are able to enjoy their rights as enshrined. And in that regard, just as Judy was saying, right now we are trying to see if we can shift the conversation from response to prevention. There has been a lot of work that has been done in regards to response, and looking at the commitments, most of the commitments tend to look at the respond. We are responding by investing. We are responding by. And so CRU and other partners like Equality Now, we did a research on prevention, GBV prevention models that exist in the country, which are there are quite a few, but none that the government has adopted. And so we are currently doing advocacy and policy towards, or rather lobbying the government to start now part of the investment to be able to look into prevention strategies that are going, or models that are going to look into ensuring we stop before
we get there.
Right.
As we conclude the conversation this morning, Angelina, what is it that you see that needs to be done to get us to at least as close as possible to achieving what we have all set out to achieve? Well, by 2022 and FGM, by 2026 and GBV. What do we need to do to get as much as possible into this bucket?
Well, yeah, good question. When the president was making the commitments, we saw some bold steps. He brought cultural leaders even to State House to sign commitments. Now, what we're looking for that needs to happen is how do we translate that and implement the same in our spaces? It's one thing for leaders to stand and say, oh, I don't support. It's another thing to see actual action within the community. So what we need to do if at all to achieve this by 2022, then definitely behavior has to change. Our understanding and some of the cultural practices that we do, for example, the issue of FGM, we need to safeguard the lives of our children. A 12-year-old has no business, addressing sexuality. Their mind is there to develop. So let's respect them, allow them to be children. Can we influence our behavior in terms of how we understand conflict? As human beings, we need to acknowledge that we don't always agree. We are not a homogeneous group of people. We'll always have our differences. We'll always be different from one another. But that doesn't mean that if we disagree, then violence becomes the way to a solution. We need to be able to adopt new ways of engaging together and dialogue. That it's okay to disagree, and you can part ways and live separate and coexist together. And that violence is not the solution to make us live as one team. And therefore, we need to be able to acknowledge these differences and also adopt a system that says there are other options. And therefore, what are these platforms where we can be able to engage and address the issues that we have in a manner that is respectful, that we respect our children, whether they're boys, whether they're girls, create opportunities for them to grow and to thrive. As institutions, we are there to support and be able to look at what else, who's missing in this conversation. So as it gets to 2022, we need to look at who's missing in this discussion, who needs to get on board. Government has given political will at the national level. At the county level, how does this translate? Who is missing from this discussion? What are the counties doing to make sure that we actualize this? Those that don't have policies in place and framework, how do you support them to be able to adopt those that really are the same views that we are trying and aspiring to achieve, especially in addressing the inequality? So those are the missing pieces that we need to address. And of course, beyond that, it's look at our education system and see where is the missing gap, so that by the time you're an adult, it's very hard to change behavior as an adult. But if we start adopting this kind of culture from the time when we are young, then it's very easy to live as an experience of non-violence from the time you're young all the way up. That said, you can still adopt new ways of engaging. You can still be able to coexist together. And, violence doesn't have to be a factor, but rather coexistence and peaceful living of everybody will be our agenda at the end of the day. So everybody comes on board, we play our part, and I'm sure we can achieve it even at 2022. It's not impossible. If I take responsibility for myself and I say, if I see something wrong and I say, listen, I can see a valid disagreement, violence is not the way to go. Let's look for another way. We can save lives and be able to protect ourselves. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for joining us, lady, and we wish you once again a happy International Human Rights Day. I'm sure you have various activities lined up today, and all the best with that, and as you continue with your programs through the year. Angelina Sikanda is a Program Development Manager at Crew Kenya. She has been joining us from a video link. Judy Gitao, Regional Coordinator, Equality Now, and Isabella Mwangi, Program Officer at Crew Kenya, have been with us in the studio. Asante sana, lady. Have a good day. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room. Keep it right here at 7:30. Let's see how the weather is looking like and how the roads are looking like as Judy and Isabella leave to join the traffic again. We'll tell them what they should expect. Good morning.
This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. 24/7, around the world, non-stop. This is SpiceFM. "24/7, around the world, non-stop. This is SpiceFM.
Sisi watu ya Rift Valley tunapenda publicity. Jacket ya msichana yangu, dress ya mama yake. Ama namna gani?
Western Kenya sikukuu ya Christmas ni ya kumix them, gather them. Unakula kila kitu mpaka unachoka.
Hapana, wacha tufurahi zote, tufurahi through to the new year in the city.
Sisi hapa Eastern ni kukula na kulala 28 hours in a day.
Sisi wa pwani tunapenda vitu vya kudumu, ndio maana nafurahia back to school.
Hapa Central tunapenda ile offer ya Naivas ya back to work. Kazi lazima iendelee bila madeni.
Celebrate Christmas kiloko with Naivas' freshest festive offers. Shop with your Naivas card and earn bonus points with 2,000 Bob shopping vouchers instantly and 1,000 golds. If you don't have a card, get one in minutes at any Naivas store. Naivas Christmas kiloko. Shinda kokote, sherekea kikwetu.
If I'm found guilty, there is no problem. I'm willing to serve. I have no problem. Jails are meant for human beings.
They say a society gets the leadership it deserves. If you have a corrupt, crooked and rotten society like we have in Kenya, then of course they will get that kind of a leadership.
I think the president should dissolve parliament. That's the best solution at this moment in time. Dissolve parliament.
All of you go home.
Yes, we all go home.
How are we encouraging other people who might have new and creative ideas? Young people who are making money without any government help. They are just buying their own bundles. They are going on TikTok and making money. KRA is coming after them.
I've been in parliament for 15 years. We have been unable to pass the gender law. And yet no presidential candidate is talking about it now. Because we are fake. The truth is, all the men refused to vote for that law.
What did Sonko do to Pumwani Maternity Hospital?
Yeah, he
with
cleaned
his
it up.
own money.
Cleaned it with his own money. That was him as an individual.
Yeah. And I did not say he was cleaning his own money. I was saying he cleaned
24/7, around the world, non-stop. This is SpiceFM.
It's the festive season, and as always, Naivas has the season all set for us. This year, Naivas Christmas Kiloko is here, and we have something special in store for everyone. This 8th to the 14th of December, choose from thousands of products and enjoy massive Jamhuri Week offers across all Naivas outlets to enjoy with Naivas Christmas Kiloko. This Jamhuri Week, you are sorted. Join me on the SpiceFM drive from 3 p.m. to win yourself a Naivas shopping voucher worth 3,000 shillings. Naivas Christmas Kiroko. Shinda kokote, sherekea kikwetu. Naivas saves you money.
Cloudy conditions and a bit of a sprinkle in most parts of Nairobi this morning at 17, highs of 24 and lows of 15. It's mostly cloudy at 16 in Nakuru, highs of 26. We'll see highs of 23 in a cloudy Nyeri and mostly cloudy conditions at 17 in Eldoret, highs of 25 and lows of 13. Mombasa continues this morning. A few clouds here and there, highs of 31 and lows of 25. And we're looking at light rain in Malindi, highs of 31 and lows of 26. Kisumu is sunny at 20, highs of 30 and lows of 19. And we're looking at sunny conditions at 20 in Kakamega with highs of 31. Kampala, light rain at 20, highs of 27. And we're looking at partly sunny conditions in Dar es Salaam with highs of 31. Lagos is a haze still at 27. We'll see warm highs of 35. Johannesburg, sunny at 17, highs of 26 and lows of 15. And it's partly cloudy in Kinshasa. We'll see highs of 32 and lows of 23.
Spice up your life.
Expect very heavy traffic from Kasarani, Mwiki, Roy Sambo, Garden City going towards the CBD all day due to the political rally happening at the Kasarani Stadium. And we're already seeing that that has already started to build up. Very early accident that took place right around Sunlight Secondary School on Langata Road this morning. That is combined with the construction going on, and that's caused some traffic on that road this morning. Yeah, we know it's extremely hectic on the Thika Superhighway today, and that has already begun. And we're still seeing some traffic then on Jogo Road getting out into the city. Uhuru Highway also jam-packed this morning as well. All right, Limuru Road also is packed. It looks like we started traffic hour rather early today. We'll keep an eye on things. Help us do this as well. Don't forget, guys, the roads are slippery because of the rains. You want to take it easy. Talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
And just to remind you, it's the 10th day of December 2021 and Christmas begins now. This is one long weekend. We're going into the Jamhuri Day weekend. Monday is a public holiday. For many people, Christmas has just begun. You're starting to think of a gift to give someone. Tell you of a good gift, and this is Showmax. If you get someone Showmax and you get them subscribed this month, they get an extra month absolutely free. They can be whatever package you want to choose. The Showmax Pro package is 1,050 bob, and it gives you all the children programming, live TV news, live sports from Supersport, and also movies and series. And if you get the Showmax original, then it's about 350 bob, and you get to subscribe. So gift somebody Showmax this festive season. They get an extra month free. No better gift than this. It's entertainment throughout the year. Good morning.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
20 minutes to 8, Kenya's biggest conversation continues, and we continue with the conversations that we keep having every day. We have had conversations about business and agribusiness for a long time. When we call this, we look at what is it that we can do to make sure that we are getting as much as possible from agriculture. So, the future of agribusiness and how do we prepare for this? Let's bring in somebody who is a very big player in this, and this is Kiprono Kitoni. He is the CEO of Capital Realtime and a chairman of Radio Africa Group. He's also on the board of very many other things. He's a, let's just call him, businessman Kiprono Kitoni. He joins us on the line. Good morning, Kiprono. John, is he hearing us? All right. So he'll be joining us shortly. Kiprono Kitoni, he's a businessman and CEO of Capital Real Time and Radio Africa Group Limited. So the conversation I want to have is the future of agribusiness. We've been talking about this in very many ways. People going into agriculture and not just looking at agriculture as a source of subsistence farming, but going into agriculture and seeing agriculture as a source of livelihood and income and how you can capitalize on this. And we look at very many things. For example, he'll be telling us about a wine and cheese festival that's going to take place this weekend, right? Yep. So Kiprono, good morning. You're on the line now. You're live on SpiceFM. John? Okay, let's John sort out the line and then we'll be able to hear him shortly. About the festival, Ndu.
Right, so this is interesting that you say that, because then now I think there are now many deliberate efforts that are being made to make sure that agriculture is front and center, and that you're now dealing with product that you would not ordinarily see coming out, because it has been normally your basic run-of-the-mill product. You're looking at maize, you're looking at beans and other cash crops. But then other things that then can be used, many would see them as luxury or things that can then become normalized and that Kenyans can actually grow and make profit from and do business with, So I think it's very interesting that this is coming about, and also showcasing that this, or, putting to bed some of these, myths that has said that it's only certain people of a certain cadre, a certain part of society that can farm or that can be involved in agriculture and agribusiness, but that it's moving across the strata, and that it doesn't really matter who you are or where you're from, that you can actually make huge gains, and also now, contribute to livelihoods through agriculture. And I think the trends are changing, and I really do think that it's time now where people are taking literally the bull by the horns and saying we can do much more. Nobody has known Kenya, for example, as wine country or cheese country previously, but this is what we're talking about, that new trends make it possible for things that were not otherwise part of conversation to be front and center.
It's actually interesting that for the longest time, Kenya has always been touted as an agricultural country. And agriculture has also been mentioned as the backbone of the economy of this particular country. And that many people whom we now see are a product of the subsistence farming that very many of their parents' parents have been involved in. So you could argue that it has been the mainstay for very many people in this country. Now, we're in the 21st century. How do you make it viable in the 21st century? How do you ensure that it goes beyond just being subsistence?
Exactly.
Yes.
So Kiprono should be able to hear us. Can you hear us? Can you hear us, Kiprono?
Yes, I can. I can hear you.
Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us in the Situation Room.
Thank you very much, and good morning to you all.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Kiprono, the next time you need to be here in the room. This is now the third time that we're speaking to you, and we always catch you on the phone. Next one, be inside the studio.
Yes, 100%. I would love to be in the studio with you guys so we can be speaking face to face.
Asante. So tell us about this Zero Wine and Cheese Agrifest that's taking place this weekend. What's this about? Wine and cheese in Kitale?
Okay, first and foremost, this is the second edition of the same Wine and Cheese Festival. We last year obviously couldn't have it because of the COVID times that we were in. The whole idea of this is to celebrate farming, to celebrate agriculture, to allow people who partake in this value chain to also showcase their products, their goods, and their services. Why the wine? For the simple reason that wine speaks to luxury, wine speaks to, an enhancement of our own civilization. 2 weeks ago, we were in Pretoria for the state visit with President Kenyatta, and on the business forum on the sidelines, we met some Kenyans who are also starting to import vines from the Western Cape. So I also see an increase in the number of people who will be participating in the growing of vines and the developing of our own vineyards in this part of the world. The cheese speaks to our dairy sector. There's a lot of different cheese producers. There's Browns, there's Raka, many others, and they will be here today. Arriving here today to showcase their products. So the wine and cheese are just two products that we have chosen, but tomorrow's AgroFest will actually be showcasing a whole host of agricultural products and services.
Kiprono, even as you say that, even as you're talking about, introducing the luxury aspect of things and then also looking at what is available then to be able to done with things like cheese, I see huge opportunities here because previously, where we talk about agriculture and agribusiness in the country, there are only certain crops, certain products that have come to mind. So it looks as though it's also an opening up of opportunities to go into other areas of agriculture that more and more people then could be interested in to boost the profile of the country, as well as introduce, additional revenue streams for individual business. What do you think about that?
100% spot on. I mean, we are seeing a very big transformation taking place in agriculture. I'm right now speaking to you from Silwa Farm in Trans Nzoia. This farm was just traditionally a maize-growing farm. If you came here 20 years ago, it was just acres and acres of maize. But today we have tea, we have purple tea, we have black tea, we have coffee on the farm that we value add as well into our very fine silver coffee. We have macadamia, we have dairy products. We are increasing the number. We have horticulture. We have also agri-tourism. We have 2 resorts on the farm, Silver Resort and Crane's Haven Luxury Tented Camp. So the whole value proposition is changing. Further afield in this county, now you have sugarcane, you have many other activities that are starting to take place. And apart from that, infrastructure is opening up. We have a new road that the government is building into Uganda that will make it very easy for us to target our neighbors in terms of an export drive. So yes, the whole value proposition is changing, and anybody who isn't changing with the times will certainly be left behind in this opportunity. We are very, very excited about the prospect also of adding value to everything that we do. So we shall be next year launching 3 new value-added products, and in our strategic plan we'll be launching 2 more every year until the year 2030.
Mr. Kiprono, are you saying that what you've just said, which is actually very exciting and very interesting, is something that isn't just on your farm, but it's being mirrored by other people who have maybe a similar acreage and were once upon a time simply maize farmers?
Yes, I mean we are leading the charge, and a lot of people come here for benchmarking. But I'm really excited by the fact that many others are also taking it on. In the same county, we have in Kiminini, which is about 20 kilometers from here, I have a friend of mine who lives in Karen, but he's just set up a very good poultry farm, and I'm told he's now got a specialized whiskey lounge. So you see, for people who are traveling into this county, you'll find hospitality facilities that are attuned to very different and very sophisticated clientele. So I'm seeing a big change, I mean, in the rural areas. I mean, we are finding right now that from a hospitality point of view, we shall be able to host or rather be in line with the world's best. I mean, I do a lot of benchmarking myself, and one region that particularly excites me is Cape Town in the Western Cape. And if you go there and see what the farms have, I mean, it's not just farming; it's farming plus. And I think even for us here, we are looking at going into beyond just regular cropping.
I'm sure we've had this before, Kiprono, that if you look at the food basket of the country, reducing production of what we have been calling, our main staple food into cash crops. Now you've gone into tea, into coffee, into all these others, into now starting vineyards. What are they telling you about, what you're doing versus food security for the country?
First and foremost, I think on the food security, we don't really have a short-term challenge. What we need to do is focus more on the productivity per acre. I have always argued, and I want to maintain the same argument again today, that we need to infuse more science and also collapse the water towers into our agricultural production. We've done the same thing over and over again and expect the same results. Let's speak to maize. I mean, last year there was, according to the World Bank Economic Survey, there was a drop in the amount of maize that Kenya produced, I think, by 4%. But that doesn't speak more to the actual total the potential of the productivity. What it speaks to is the fact that we haven't really enhanced our agricultural practices to maximize return. I mean, most of the farms in this region are producing in the region of 18 to 20 bags of maize per acre, but with the correct agronomical practices, with the focus on soil health and things like that, you could very, very easily double that. So I don't see any short-term challenge that we face in food security.
Western Cape, as you correctly put it, is actually famous for its winery, and indeed true, as you say, the hospitality industry, beds and breakfast are awash in that particular area. But specifically, how welcoming have people been of the idea of actually starting up wineries and vineyards and ensuring that we go into that particular market, from what you have seen?
You see, we have seen the Thika Coffee Bills and Pius Ngugi's group come up with the Leleshwa wine in Naivasha. And over the years, I think they've been at it for maybe 10 years plus. I did taste some of the Sauvignon Blanc about a month ago, and I can say it is really, really, really improved over the period of time that they've been doing it. I think what it takes is resilience. What it takes is just to debunk the theory that Kenya is not a wine-growing region. And like I said to you, I did meet some people in Pretoria who have partnered with nursery owners in the Cape, and they're bringing in vines for cultivation in Kenya starting next year. And I will certainly be one of the people who will make an experiment. They used to say that the wine requires all 4 seasons, that we are a 2-season country. But clearly, Leleshwa has proven otherwise, and I think many others will be joining in that endeavor.
I think, Kiprono, there's just hold your line a bit better, your phone a bit closer, so that we can get a clearer line. I think that would be better if it's just closer to you. Mm-hmm.
So, Kiprono, as we continue with this,
it's better.
What do you think this can do for things like agricultural tourism? And I'm talking now about opening up the country, because a lot of times we see that when people do come in, there's the usual places of, going to the coast or going on a safari kind of thing. But here we are, I think, given a beautiful opportunity to say, here is your agriculture, and there's so many things you can do with it. I mean, and then opening that up too as an aspect, because here we are talking about going on a wine and cheese tour in the western part of the country, something that would have, and for 2 years now running, something that would have never been imagined before. So what in your mind are the possibilities of things like this being done in other parts of the country to make it, more welcoming or inviting?
I think the potential is huge. I mean, and, for us here, like I said, the wine that's being showcased tomorrow is from the importers of the different wines. And they will all be setting up their stand today. We aren't at the point yet where we are showcasing the growing of vines, but certainly that's going to be there in the near future. Like I said to you, we will be amongst the people who will be attempting to grow some grapes in our farm to see if we can also get into that ecosystem. But in terms of agritourism, for sure, this is the time, and it has come. We've demonstrated it on our own farm itself. We've not made a loss. We've been having, like I said to you, 2 small facilities here. We are expanding the capacity of those facilities, and you'll be amazed at the demand for conferencing at the farm. And we have a conference center being built right now called Cranes Outdoor in the middle of our coffee. And we are already getting a lot of inquiries, and I'm sure people would love to do their conferencing in an environment where they can also partake in the agricultural offering.
There's something you mentioned a while ago, and this was with regards to converting our water towers into better agriculture. Just explain what you meant by that.
What I mean is, you see, Kenya has been, especially here in Trans Nzoia County and in most parts of the North Rift, we've been relying on rain-fed agriculture. And, with global climate change, there is an issue with the rainfall patterns that are not consistent. I mean, we're very fortunate that in Trans Nzoia over the last 2 years, we've been receiving very, very good rainfall. But that's not the same in most parts of the country. I mean, in Nairobi itself, we've had very little rainfall this year. So if you were, farming in the environs of Nairobi, this year, you would really have been struggling if you didn't have enough water. And so what I'm saying is that we need to harness our water resources and apply it better to agriculture. If you go to Israel is one of the most effective agricultural producers in the world. In fact, I've been to a farm in Eilat near the Red Sea that is the largest milk producer on earth, and it's in the middle of the Araba Desert. So you see, we sometimes think that agriculture must go hand in hand with rain-fed agriculture, but I don't agree with that at all. I think that if we can harness our water resources better and also use better scientific methodology, we'll be perfectly on the path to becoming an effective producer and exporting our surplus and taking advantage of the African Continental Free Trade Area.
What would this require? Would it require anything in terms of policy change or direction by government, or does it just need people to see the business sense of it and just invest in it?
I think it takes two to tango. We need to see a lot more government intervention. We need to see extension services. We need to see the best agricultural best practice being brought to people on the farm, and giving them an opportunity also to practice, or rather introduce best practice onto their own farms. At the same time, we need also, farmers, the private sector actors like ourselves, those who have large farms here, those who have small and medium scale farms, to be able to adapt to these changes and, have a clear strategy in terms of what they want to do and execute on their strategy. We work here in Seriousness based on our strategic plans. We don't just do things on an ad hoc basis. And I think that, the moment we start to look at farming as any other enterprise, as a business to run, and not just as a livelihood, like most people say, "Niko na shamba huko nyumbani," then we'll start to be serious about farming. And I think many, many examples. I've cited Israel. If you go to Israel, if you go to Turkey and see the things that they are doing, I mean, it's just incredible. And I see no reason why we cannot lead in that chart. But it's like I said, it takes two to tango. It takes government and it takes the private sector as well to come into the party.
Okay, you have chaired the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. You have been in business for a while and participated in all these business forums in the country and abroad. One thing that you observe is that when you talk about business in the country, KEPSA, CAM and all, you're looking at people who are in the value addition side and not in the production side. Do you think we need to have a bigger presence and a stronger presence of producers in organizations such as KNCCI and KEPSA?
They are there, actually. I mean, like in the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, which I chaired, there's a lot of farming people there. There's a lot of primary producers. I think what we've lacked in that whole endeavor, and, really we must give credit to the government because we've opened many doors. I mean, the government has signed many bilateral agreements, memorandum of understanding and special status agreements with many other countries to open access to them of their markets to Kenyan products. The challenge we have is our productive capacity. We don't have sufficient productive capacity. In the Big Four agenda, there is manufacturing as a key pillar, and we also have food security as a key pillar. But there's a lot of work that still requires to be done to make us an effective participant and player in this regard. And I think it's not really the lack of the will. I think it is really scaling up our productivity, our hand to be held to see that we, like now, for example, I'm working on our own coffee value addition, and we are basically having to sort out ourselves. I mean, but in many other countries, you will find that there will be agencies of government that will be hand-holding potential exporters, walking them through the motions and actually seeing to it that they are given enough assistance even in terms of access to loans and etc., to a point where you have exportable products that will then also ease our balance of trade deficit that we have currently.
All right, so thank you very much for joining us today, Kiprono, and I wish you all the best in this weekend's Sero Wine and Cheese Agrifest. It begins today or begins tomorrow?
It is tomorrow, and on Sunday we have a golf tournament sponsored by the NFP and MSEC in Kitale. So we are asking the people who are here for the Agrifest to play golf to also sample Kitale's 18-hole championship course.
All right.
Welcome to our farm one day. Thank you.
Asante sana. Join us in the next time in the studio where we talk about this and more in the Situation Room. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. We'll be having a conversation with Kiprono Kitoni. He's the CEO of Capital Real Time. He is also a chairman of Radio Africa Group. He's also a farmer, and he's just been telling us about agribusiness and what they do in business. I just want to read a comment, which can form a basis for a future conversation, from Velma on Facebook. It says, when we keep talking about, when we say make farming sexy, you have to wonder what is sexy when what we should be talking about is making farming pay. Secondly, women form the bulk of over 60% of farm labor. How can we ensure that it pays even better to the people who actually are participating in food production, especially those who are in small scale? This is a conversation that we shall continue having. Remember, we like having conversations about agribusiness in the Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. In the next hour, we have conversations with Sandy. And who are Sandy?
Well, I think from the name you can hear. We're looking at great avenues for delivery. We're also looking at avenues for storage, getting your things from point A to point B in a professional and timely manner.
All right. A very good morning to you. It's 8 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Dennis Aseto. Kenyans have started streaming into Kasarani Stadium, the venue for the much-awaited Azimio la Umoja conference, where leaders and Kenyans will be joining ODM Chief Raila Odinga in giving the resolutions of the countrywide campaigns he has been engaged in. Odinga says the Azimio la Umoja initiative is aimed at fostering peace as the country gears for the 2022 general election. Kenyans will also be keen to listen to Odinga's announcement over his presidential ambitions, with expectations being that he will announce his intentions to run for the presidency come next year. To a sad story, and a police officer committed suicide in Mombasa, citing stress and debts amounting to 81,000 shillings, which he was not able to pay. The officer, whose identity has not been released, left a suicide note detailing the debts he owed people and asked his colleagues to form a WhatsApp group, contribute the money after his death and pay his debts for him. He was based at the Changamwe police station. His body was found dangling from the roof of his house, with a bag containing his uniform and other clothes neatly arranged in one corner. He asked his boss to take his police uniform and distribute his civilian clothes to whoever will require them. To his family, the officer named all his 4 children, telling them, "Nawapenda sana japo sikuweza kuaga, lakini siku moja tutakutana tena, msome kwa bidii," which means, "I love you, but I was not able to say goodbye. We will meet one day and work hard in school." The officer committed suicide just a day after President Uhuru Kenyatta urged officers to always seek alternative solutions to challenges facing them, as opposed to taking the gun or committing suicide following the killing of 6 people in Kabete, Nairobi, where a police officer committed suicide after shooting his wife and 5 people dead. The Kenya Revenue Authority has rolled out an elaborate tax education program in schools. The taxman contends that the initiative that targets high school and college students is meant to inculcate the culture of paying taxes among Kenyans at an early age. KRA Southern Region Coordinator Joseph Tanui said the new push is meant to improve financial literacy in the learning institutions and teach students the importance of being financially responsible when they finally enter the labor force. Tanui says taxpayer behavior is of concern to the taxman, and it has been observed over time that the taxpayer's compliance can be affected by many factors, including education. Now, under the theme of connection, glory and future, the Huawei ICT competition is sailing through its 6th year in sub-Saharan Africa. 15,000 students from up to 500 top universities and colleges in 17 countries have participated in the learning contest, making it the largest ICT skills competition in the region. At the current stage, 6 countries have completed the country-level Huawei ICT competition. Outstanding teams will compete in the Sub-Saharan Africa finals, which are scheduled to kick off in February 2022. Over the past 5 years, the competition has attracted over 80,000 passionate ICT students, with 21 teams entering the global finals, further incentivizing contestants to excel in this field. And stakeholders dealing with people living with disability issues have complained about poor health services despite paying for National Health Insurance Fund. Scholastica Ngosi from Cheshire Disability Services Kenya says she is not happy by how people living with disability are treated when seeking treatment, a situation that has left many battling various ailments at home. Bernard Masionge from the organization said the lack of physiotherapy centers has continued to hamper provision of medical assistance for people living with disability across the country. An expert in fisheries at the African Union Inter-African Bureau for Animal Resources, Dr. Mohamed Seise, has expressed worry over threats to aquatic biodiversity in Africa. He says rising temperatures in water bodies are forcing many species of fish to move deeper into the ocean, seas and lakes. Speaking at the Conserving Aquatic Biodiversity in Africa Blue Economy meeting held in Naivasha, Seise urged African Union member states to work towards increasing vegetation cover through planting trees as a mitigation measures in reducing carbon emissions. Seise notes that certain fish species have started moving deeper into the oceans, seas and lakes due to the warming temperatures in the shallow waters, a matter he said could complicate sustainable fisheries on the continent. internationally, and the street in front of the Embassy of Saudi Arabia will be called Jamal Khashoggi Way after the Washington City Council voted to honor the Saudi journalist allegedly murdered by government agents. The council voted unanimously to symbolically name the 700-foot stretch of New Hampshire Avenue that runs between the embassy and the Watergate complex for Khashoggi, a dissident journalist working for the Washington Post at the time of his murder in Turkey. Khashoggi, a vocal critic of the Saudi monarchy, was murdered and dismembered in the Saudi consulate in Istanbul on October 2, 2018, after traveling there from the United States to file paperwork to marry his Turkish fiancée. The killers were a team of men closely connected to the palace of Grand Prince Mohammed bin Salman, who is accused by Western intelligence of authorizing the murder. This is Newswire. Dennis Aseto.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
All right, traffic on Jogo Road this morning, getting out into the city very slow, bumper to bumper in a lot of parts, an industrial area, then leaking off onto Jogo Road from Lunga Lunga. The Likoni interchange then that gets onto the southern bypass of Mombasa Road doesn't look too bad, at least not for now. A few pockets of traffic here and there. Langata Road, absolute mess, just in case you're wondering. And in case you're thinking of using it, don't. You want to use southern bypass and go round then in case you must. Huru Highway also building up a little bit, but not too crazy right now. Gong Road, Rilo Dinga Way, all of that looking quite interesting. Where you will have a headache of epic proportions today is the Thika Superhighway. There's already traffic outbound and inbound. I wonder why. However, that is quite packed. Limuru Road also continues to be a thing today. Coming out of Westerns, use the Red Hill Link Road. That's what's going to offer you the best reprieve, at least for now. How about we check back in about 30 minutes? Let's do that. Talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter, text 40127. Keep things moving. Remember, the roads are slippery. Be careful.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room.
A very good morning to you at 8 minutes
your
after
day.
8 on the 10th day of December 2021. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. If you're just joining us, if you've been with us since 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, asante sana for tuning in. We are live on SpiceFM, Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu, Eldoret, Nakuru, Nyeri, Malindi. We are also broadcasting to the world on SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. That's where our live stream is. And we're also Chelkachel on Moja Kwa Moja on KTN Home for the next 1 hour. Our conversation in the next hour is going to be about making business easier and logistically speaking. But let's begin with the day's proverb.
Right. Kana mwimbaji na utaimba wimbo.
Kaa na mwimbaji na utaimba wimbo.
Yes, directly translated, sit with a singer and you will sing a song. Or you will sing songs.
Your company influences you.
One could argue your company is you. You've heard of people saying, this person is okay, but it's a company he keeps. So, ostensibly what's being suggested is that the company forced him to be with them, and yet the choice is on the person who joined that company. So, it is you. Not like you, it is you.
It is you.
Yes.
Okay. Now you have card next to somebody. Let me introduce him. His name is Kevin Kaburu. He is the marketing VP for Sandy Limited. And we'll be talking about Sandy shortly. Also joining us in the studio is Chris Nyaga. I'm running away from that so I can come back nicely into it.
Okay.
He's a general manager, fulfillment at Sandy, in charge of the East African region. One is vice president. The other one is GM fulfillment. Now, ask.
You know,
Yeah.
the way you segued into it, I was thinking, so because I'm sitting next to
a vice president.
Vice President marketing.
Yes.
Therefore, I am what exactly?
You are the president.
By association.
Very
nice. That said, if you sit with a singer, you will sing songs.
All right. So Ndu now is sitting next to
Fulfillment
Mr.
manager.
Fulfillment.
She's getting fulfilled.
She's getting
Welcome, gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us this morning in the Situation Room.
Thank you for having us.
Let's first start by understanding Sandy. Okay, there are people who know Sandy. There are people who have heard Sandy. There are people who've never heard Sandy. Who is Sandy? Who takes the question? Bona VP.
So I'll take that, and thanks for having us. I think for us, when we say Sandy, we talk about a platform that we use to sort out logistics. And just to give a quick narrative, which my colleague Chris likes giving, is we started off with thinking, how do you get to enable people to actually get whatever product or goods or inventory that they have to the last mile? And it started with us just looking at Kenya, just moving things within the CBD, within Nairobi and to the outskirts of Nairobi, starting with people walking in town, delivering goods, moving to motorbikes, then moving to pickups, then vans, and shortly we realized, there's an opportunity to move beyond this. So we moved into cross-border movement, so moving of cargo between inter-country, and then now, finally we realized, yes, it's all this, but we have a new segment of people, and that's what we're going to talk to about today, where we have individuals who are trying to hustle or starting off their businesses. How do you enable them to just have a hassle-free sort of logistics.
Hassle-free hustling.
Yes, logistics sort of side of things, so that they can sell, and for us, we are able to fulfill for them. And that, when you talk about fulfillment, that's what you're talking about. So Send is a platform where we don't own assets, where people just plug in with the assets, whether it's trucks, motorbikes, tuk-tuks, anything you think about, and we're able to do actually movement of goods and inventory between individuals, between countries, between cities, across Africa right now. Yeah.
Chris, then come in here, because Kevin talks about the fulfillment aspect of the small business person, micro and small, and they have all these logistical challenges. And how do you then fit in?
Yeah, so one of the ways we got into this is we realized there's a huge segment that is largely informal, that is not captured by anyone. Somebody selling their goods on social commerce, on Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp. And the market is not really thinking about them. There's no solutions for them, in the sense that a lot of these people are, say, storing their goods within their premises or in the boot of their vehicles. And when they get orders that they're doing as a side hustle, then it's really challenging for them to actually get those items to the users, right? So here comes Sandy Fulfillment. We're thinking of this problem from an angle of, these are customers we've dealt with before. We've provided them point-to-point solutions through our technology. How about we provide just end-to-end fulfillment, which is now basically involving, we'll keep the items in consignment in our fulfillment center, which is an aspect of storage. And then every time they receive an order, we give them a platform, an app. They can place the order, and then we will just do the pick, pack, ship, and they don't have to worry about a thing. And then the customers on the other end are able to also see, the goods coming to them. They don't have to keep calling, where's the delivery agent, and so on. So really, that's a problem we saw in the market, and we're stepping out to solve it.
Yes. Did this change? Because also we saw a shift in the way in which business was done over the last 1.5 years, whereby we had a lot of people then who were going into production. Now, when it came to business, and they were doing this from their homes, obviously, because one, COVID was a big factor that affected that. There was a loss of employment, etc., etc. So did you see a shift in this, that storage was also needed? People are producing from their homes in terms of distance between where they could deliver and where they were producing. How did it then help in terms of fulfilling the business aspect as well as then serving the customer?
Yeah, so interesting you mentioned that, COVID has come with the different situations, not sure it's the right word, has come with different implications, rather. And one of them is that people have learned that you've got to rethink how you do your business. And especially social and e-commerce has really been at the forefront of making sure that people can still maintain their distance wherever they are. They can work from home and all that, but still get their supplies, right? So we've really seen a shift to consumer goods consumption. People are really out there to the everyday essentials to get them online as opposed to walking into your usual mall and shopping there. So we've seen a shift in that. And also there's been an issue around containers that has been happening. So that also has an impact in terms of we've had more and more production in country. And for that, there's a bigger need to fulfill. We're not really out to solve storage. That's not the main thing we're out to solve, because we think people are, have figured out ways to do that. But we're there just to keep inventory for the people who want to actually get to the last mile. So that's what we're stepping out here.
I heard you say that you don't really own assets.
Yeah.
You don't have lorries, you don't have pickups, you don't have motorbikes, and yet you send things. Okay.
Yeah. So,
because, from a layman's point of view, this is magic now. Tell me how it's done.
I know Chris will add to it, but think about it. We're providing people with a platform. I mean, City, yourself, if you come right now and you have a truck probably, and it's always by the roadside parked the entire day, not having any work. So you just plug into it. And for us, what we're saying is we get you people to actually come and take the orders or move the goods. And wherever you are, you just plug in and move your goods. So we are asset free. It makes it easier. So we are trying to actually get earnings, decent earnings for riders, whether it's your motorbike, whether it's your tuk-tuk, your pickup, your truck, your 28-ton truck, anything of that sort. So you plug in and you're able to actually do business easily.
So then I imagine that you have people who are in this value chain. You've got the transport service providers, from big trucks to small vans to motorbikes. And then who else do you have? Storage facilities. If big truck has brought in goods from Nairobi to Eldoret and there for various people who've sent, then you've got to have some storage facility there. So you have all these people who then also subscribe and provide a service to you.
So probably Chris will take it.
So we are a tech company at heart, right? So our main business is connecting the users of the people who need services with people who provide the services. And we are out there to make it easy to do business. That's a core thing. That's one thing we look at. And then how do we make it easier for people to do business from that angle? How we do that? Yes, we have an ecosystem of partners, like you said, drivers, all the way from motorbike owners, all the way to trailers. And a lot of people know us for the bikes that they see on the roads. But then, translates all the way to beyond trailers. And then we've got, like you said, warehousing partners that we work with. We've also got, we are impacting sellers who we're selling. We're not really selling at fulfillment, but who we're fulfilling the goods for. At the same time, we're impacting people now who want to borrow. There's an ecosystem of sellers, again, who, they have their businesses going, but then access of credit is not easy for them. So, our asset, one of the assets is data. So we're using that data and translating it to making decisions around, can we help these people do their business easier by providing them with an injection of that nature? We're supporting a large ecosystem, I would say.
That's an interesting one. The one you talked about, access to credit. Explain that a little bit.
So at Sandy Fulfillment, we realize the people who are mainly consuming the service are, like I said, the social sellers. And a lot of times they can see they have a market for their items, but then they don't have as much capital injection to put in there in their business so that it flourishes, right? And with the right capital, then they're able to get that. For them to access loans, they would have to visit banks, and that's, they would need either collateral or, X months of trading and so on, right? On the other hand, if we're keeping your inventory, what happens is that we are keeping track of the transactions that you're doing, right? So every time buyers come to your platform, your Facebook page, and they're able to buy, then we can see your activity, right? So automatically we can tell that what you need is just an injection so that you can expand your business. So that's what I mean. Yes.
You're essentially a one-stop shop where people who have ideas, people who have businesses of whatever nature, you connect them.
Yes, at heart, we just make it easier for people to trade.
Okay. So are you commission agents?
No, we're not commission agents. If you think about it, and I think there's one more business product that we didn't talk about, where we're able to connect your retailers to manufacturers, where we do, they're able to order goods at a discounted price, and we're able to supply that to them, and we call it Sandy supply. I think for us, it's when we provide the platform for people to actually trade, because, I mean, they're the ones who are making the money. For us, it's a platform that they're connecting and we're enabling them to do the trade. So for us, it's more a platform than a commission agent receiving commissions, but just providing that route for them to actually think about, how do I think about my logistics in the simplest way possible. Yeah.
So what differentiates this? I mean, so then if we're saying that this would then actually be the fulfillment process to use for your business, for you as an individual who's trying to get, something done from end to end, what differentiates this from your normal, border guy, for example, that you can say, okay, just get this done for me and, shift the process. Why would this be different from that in terms of other competition that is being offered today?
Yeah, just starting it off, I think when we talk about fulfillment center, for instance, and we're asking you, hey, please bring your goods, let's store the inventory for you that you need to sell very quickly. In a day, if you think about the person selling, they have to think about this border person who probably they've already sent one out. They need to do another sort of sale. They need to send somebody else. So there's multiple calls. I think about 15 to 20 calls happening at the same time. They're tracking the customer's goods. Have they arrived? Have they not arrived? So we're trying to move this solution, this headache, per se, out of them. But also what you're thinking about is from a pricing perspective. We're saying there is a very defined way that you're thinking about your pricing. We're saying 13% of the cost of the good is what you do. Just to bring it together, today, if you're to, and it's a problem that we wanted to sort from the onset, that we said, how do you get to deliver a product that, let's say, it's less at 100 bob at a lesser cost? Right now, if you have to send anything within CBD, it's 300, 400, 500. It depends. But I can tell you now, it's Sandy fulfillment. And if you think about 13%, and if you have a product that's worth 100 bob, maybe it's a set of earrings, it's one lipstick that you want to send out, that should not cost you more than the price of the product per se. So if let's say, hypothetically, it's at 100 bob, and if you do 13% of that, that's 13 shillings. They're saying, have you ever heard of a delivery cost of 13 shillings in Nairobi?
And for real, is that what we're looking at in terms of costing? Or are we saying on the face of it, and then there are other, hidden costs that come along?
If you think about it, it's, and I know Chris, that's his financials, he will speak to it. But if you think about it, if you think about it, it's a whole storage, it's a whole picking, it's packing and shipping. So it's economies of scale that we're bringing together, because you're not the only seller. I mean, you have multiple sellers coming together, and we're able to consolidate that and be able to send it to different customers. So it's not anything hidden. This is very clear that it's 13%. There's a lot of transparency to this.
Yes.
And all you get is what we actually say. There's no other hidden cost to it.
So someone who wants to join into Sandy, for example, I'm just thinking there are very many people who are selling product online. Somebody who is, okay, let me now plug in here. My wife makes Masai fleece blankets under the brand name Indigo 6. And she gets an order. She needs to deliver, let's say, to Eldoret. All right. So how does Sandy fit into this business?
So the first thing your wife would need to do, now she has the information. Luckily, we hope it gets to her.
She's listening.
I
hope she's getting it.
So the first thing she needs to do is download the Sandy Fulfillment app. And then she can be able to, upload products. And then once she's done that, we will be able to contact her and bring the merchandise. We will pick it up and bring it to our fulfillment center. And then the next thing she has to do is just generate orders and then not worry about anything else. So once she's generating orders, and that's the main thing we're actually trying to do. We want you as that business person to focus on your core business, not to think about shipping, logistics. Just focus on generating orders, which is really your core business. And then we will do the rest.
So where does this happen? Does this happen on your platform or does it happen on their platform? You're talking about very many of these are social sellers.
Mhm.
So if somebody has, let's say, a Facebook page, do they need to come and create a different account on the Sandy platform?
So the Facebook page for them or the Instagram page or WhatsApp is where they generate their orders. Or through their platforms, people generate orders in different ways, right? So the platform that we're giving them is to upload the merchandise that they're already generating orders for. Essentially, we're not a marketplace at fulfillment. We are the people fulfilling your orders, right? Of course, we have within the Sandy ecosystem, like my colleague is mentioning, we have like Sandy Supply, which would be able to plug in eventually and generate orders for these merchants eventually. But the main thing is that you are able to just stop thinking about shipping, delivery, and logistics aspect of things.
So essentially, it's delivery logistics. I'll say why I'm asking this.
Yes.
Because you talk about a value chain, there are very many things that come into it. Is there a possibility that you may evolve and get to a point where you actually want to own assets? Because you may see the need and you may see the benefits of it. Because there are companies that do precisely that. And that's their business. And they also do something similar to what you are doing.
Yes. So one of the things is that owning assets would really restrict us. We're a tech company. So what we really provide is a platform and a solution to problems through, algorithms. Like my colleague has mentioned, achieving orders for as low as 13 shillings. We have to do a lot of things in the back end, right? And a lot of the existing players are not able to achieve these costs simply because then they have the other running operational costs because of asset ownership. For us, we are investing heavily in the tech, and this is what helps us to meet these costs or be able to have calculations the back end running that are able to just get us to that level that the customer actually needs. So it's creating efficiency in the ecosystem through tech.
So the commodity through which you trade most is trust.
Yes. Yes, and just to answer you, just going back to us sort of owning stuff, I think the last mile logistics is really fragmented, not only in Kenya, across Africa. Right now, the last mile, you getting that last thing is the biggest problem. And for us, we're saying we want to focus on that for now. Let us sort that out, because a lot of people, yes, could say they're in the space, but still, it's quite fragmented. So I think thinking about letting people continue selling on their platforms, you continue doing what you're doing, whether it's Facebook, Instagram. We're not touching that front end. Your front end still remains the same. For us, we're just connecting at the back end, where we're connecting our APIs to your app or to your platform or to the app that we're giving you so that you're able to sell. So we are moving away from thinking about owning and selling these things, probably in the long-term future. But for now, I think that last mile that is really fragmented is what we really want to tackle.
So what does the future look like then for Sandy Fulfillment?
Yeah, so right now we've a presence here in Kenya and Uganda as well. Ivory Coast, we have presence there. In Nigeria. So the future for us, we're looking to go North Africa as well as the southern parts of Africa. And of course, keep making it more and more efficient to trade within Kenya. We're looking at various initiatives really to, one, bring down the cost. Number two, help you as a seller achieve even more sales by as much as we're not a marketplace, but plugging into other marketplaces and that kind of thing. So, and also solving issues around payment. So it's an end-to-end ecosystem that we're going to be looking at. So watch out, really watch out for this space. Yeah,
it's going to be an exciting journey then for
yes.
you.
Oh, yes.
Asante sana, gentlemen, for joining us. Kevin Kaburu is the marketing VP for Sendi, and Chris Nyaga is a GM for Fulfillment Sendi across East Africa. Thank you very much for joining us and telling us about Sendi Fulfillment. And yes, it sounds exciting with the kind of work that you're doing. It's about solutions. We talk about, solution, efficiency. Engineering. Now, these are computer engineers and all. Engineering is about efficiency. Some people somewhere.
Eric, just last plug-in, I think it's worth for me to say, I think, because it's an offer that we're doing. Right now, we're saying anybody who signs up is getting 100 free shipments. So
sign up today, get 100 free shipments to wherever.
So once you put the products with us, for sure, you're getting that for free. So that's our onboarding offer. It would be very unjust for me to leave this place without saying that.
That's a good Christmas goodie. 100 free shipments. Across the country?
Like, for instance, if it's across the country, across East Africa, across Africa?
No. Right now with Sendi Fulfillment, we are starting off in Nairobi. We are currently in Nairobi as we grow, obviously. Utilizing our platform to grow to other areas. But anybody who signs up within Nairobi right now.
Anywhere in Nairobi?
Anywhere in Nairobi. You're fast.
And to sign up, you go to...
So you go to the Play Store or for people on iPhones,
the App Store,
and get to download the app. But also if you go to our website, sendyeat.com, you'll get to the fulfillment page and you're able to plug in and get to sign up.
Sendyeat.com.
Yes.
It's 8:30. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Keep it right here for more conversations. First, let's take a look at what's happening on the roads and the weather. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
I hope you don't believe that a hustler is a poor person. Hustler is a person who is making his a living through hard work.
The group of leaders we are having now, Kenyans, listen, the chemical composition is the same. You will mold them to ODM, then NASA. You mold them to Kano, mold them to Jubilee, mold them to any other different color sometimes, but the chemical composition is the same.
It's not about me as Nurdin Haji, but it's about the constitution that I swore to protect. So when individuals attempt to hoard those powers and they want to be investigators and also prosecutors, then of course I have to defend that position because that position is in the constitution and that's what Kenyans wanted.
I'll tell you what happens is that when you ignore court orders, you're creating and quoting anarchy. Then you create a very dangerous precedent.
A story is told of the first president of the country who also went to visit Madare, presidential tour. And of course, he went to this place and he introduced himself. So one of the enemies says, hata wewe kuna jina kama yangu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
24/7, around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
The events of the past 2 years have seen the Christmas season lose its charm and excitement, but all that is in the past now. This December, Tis the Season is bringing back the spirit, the joy, the essence of Christmas with a Kenyan twist. Tis the Season invites you, your family and your loved ones to the Junction Mall, Nairobi on the 10th, 11th and 12th of December for Tis the Season, a very Kenyan Christmas directed by Atemi Oyungu with music by Eric Wainaina and produced by Sheba Hast. Get your tickets now on Ticket Sasa. Come one, come all, and let's make merry and have a jolly good time.
The weather with Spice
70 degrees and light rain in most parts of Nairobi. Highs of 24 and lows of 15 today. It's mostly cloudy at 18 in Nakuru City. Highs of 27 and lows of 14. 23 will be the high in Nyeri where it's cloudy at 17. And we're looking at mostly cloudy conditions in Eldoret at 17. Highs of 25 and lows of 13. In Mombasa, it's raining as well. We'll see highs of 31 and we'll see highs of 31. in Malindi, where it's partly sunny currently at 30. Partly sunny conditions in Kisumu at 23, highs of 30. And in Kakamega, it's sunny at 23, highs of 31 and lows of 17. Kampala is raining this morning. We'll see highs of 27, and we're seeing partly sunny conditions in Dar es Salaam, with highs of 31 and lows of 25. Still a cloudy, hazy morning in Lagos at 26, highs of 35 and lows of 25. It's partly sunny at 18 in Johannesburg with highs of 26, and partly sunny at 24 in Kinshasa. We'll see highs of 32 and lows of 23.
Spice up your life.
All right, getting into the CBD is an absolute mess today, and we're looking at Landis then feeding onto Kamkunji, coming off Ngong Road, coming off Valley Road into Kenyatta Avenue, coming out of Westlands. Everywhere you look, it's leading into the CBD. Quite a lot of traffic today. There is an absolute mess on the Thika Superhighway, and we're looking at Kiambu Road as well. Limuru Road is quite packed. Coming out of Westlands, use the Red Hill Link Road, take you out there much quicker than sticking there, that's for sure. Langata, easy. Okay, so everybody's complaining. Kangunda Road, traffic is crazy. The junction of Njirum Wiki Matatus are full with Asimio La Umoja delegates this morning, so nobody's going anywhere, that's for sure. Keep an eye on things. And SpiceFM KE on Twitter, text 40127.
Reminding you about Showmax. What is it? Stuck in my throat. Showmax. Subscribe to Showmax today. Get 1 month extra free. This is the deal that was launched by Showmax. Pay for 1 month and get 1 more month free. Original series, movies, kids shows, and more from just 300 shillings. That if you just subscribe to Showmax, you get 300 shillings a month. That's all you need to pay, and you get access to all these, including kids programming. And if you go for Showmax Pro, then you also, in addition to all the programs that you have, movies, kids shows, series, documentaries, and all, you also get live sport from Supersport, and you also get live news and more. How much is it for Showmax Pro? 1,050. How much is it for Showmax Original? 300 shillings. Only. For all this on 5 devices, watch on 2 different devices at the same time. 24 minutes to 9.
Spice up your life.
Hey, it's getting hot in here. The media has greatly contributed to the moral rot that we experience in this country.
I remember a senior politician telling me, point blank, nobody steals in the field, it's stolen in the granary. So my friend, if you're going to win an election, jipange kwa granary.
I think we are suffering from Stockholm Syndrome. Our violator and abuser is also our redeemer in our mind.
The whole political class, the whole political institution.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM,
it's International
Nairobi.
Human Rights Day, and happy International Human Rights Day to everybody who's joining us this morning from wherever you are. If you're watching us on TV, if you're listening to us on radio, or you're watching us on our live stream, SpiceFM KE on YouTube, on Facebook, or on Twitter, happy International Human Rights Day. Now, to commemorate this day, we have 3 more guests who are joining us, 2 who are in the studio. Samuel Orlando is Executive Director of Pamoja Trust, and we have Adeline Masinde, Adequate Housing Program Coordinator with We Effect. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning.
Asanteni sana for joining us. I want to start with you, Adeline. What is We Effect?
We Effect is a non-governmental organization. Basically, we work with supporting cooperatives in the region, and we work with member-based organization. This is an organization that was formed in the 1950s just to show solidarity with the cooperative movement, to be able to give people possibilities to get together and organize their lives in terms of housing and in terms of sustainable rural development.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. And then now, Pamoja Trust.
We are a national civil society organization, but basically a social justice organization, and I think I'll explain that further. We work around adequate housing. We also do a lot of action-based research, and also work with quite a number of community-based organizations and social movements to anchor economic and social rights. That's basically right to housing, right to basic education, right to social security, and right to water and sanitation.
So how do you do this?
So we do this on the basis of promoting models that are anchored on community innovations. And the community innovations is our remit that should inform the basis in which policies are developed. That policies should not be developed from the basis of mischief, but should anchor, community aspirations and innovations on how to address their issues.
Okay. Let's also introduce our third guest, who is Charity Wangoi, Legal and Programs Officer at Groots Kenya. Good morning, Charity.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well, thanks. Thank you very much for joining us in the Situation Room. Tell us about Groots Kenya. Who is Groots Kenya?
Okay, Groots Kenya is a movement of grassroots women. Actually, Groots is an acronym that means grassroots organizations operating together in sisterhood. So it's a group of CBOs and self-help groups that are women-led and that do a lot of work in the community. And we have been working around women in governance, women in land rights, climate change and agriculture, and women in technology and in health. So we work with grassroots women. Those are our people. So it's women and girls.
Why only women and girls?
Because everyone has a purpose in this life and everyone has a space they occupy. And so ours is for grassroots women. And also our history is that we were founded in 1995 after the Beijing conference. And so that was a conference that everyone dubbed women have been empowered and all that. So at that point, the founder was able to identify the target group. So in my opinion, we all have a role to play in the society. So our role is women and girls, and mostly grassroots women and girls. But it doesn't mean we don't offer legal advice to other target audiences, but we mostly work with women and girls.
Our specialization is a good thing, but when you say grassroots, who qualifies?
Your grassroots kind of woman is your auntie, your grandmother, the young lady who lives in the rural setting. So most of our women are based in the rural setting. So it's the outskirts of the cities. Though now Nakuru has become a city, so I don't know what happens to our women in Nakuru, but that is what we mean by grassroots women. So the women who are in the rural setting.
Is there something special about women in the rural setting that made you focus on them?
Yeah. One of the things that made us focus on women in the rural setting is that a lot of them at that time were not held with high regard, and a lot of people would disregard them in issues to do with decision making, participating in their own development. Like you'd see a woman walking without shoes, but she's a leader in her community. So the reason we focus on them is so that we can enable them to be increased in visibility, and that people would understand that they are also women like any other. Just because maybe some of them have not been able to access education, have not been able to increase their literacy skills, does not mean that they are not leaders in their own right. So that is why our target audience was rural women.
So, I mean, Adeline, focusing on where we are on International Human Rights Day. Why then is it important to commemorate this? Across organizations. Why is that important?
Okay. It's very important for us to celebrate 10th December because it's when the Universal Declaration of Human Rights was chartered in 1948. So it's important because we are celebrating all human rights, and that means that everyone who is a human being has a right to this right. So it's like we are celebrating us being human beings, and that is why it is important. Because at some point we had no structure or no written document we used to rely on principles and values that were sent over generations. But just having a written document that clearly stipulates what are your rights, what are you entitled to, was a great achievement for the whole world. So I think it's important for us to celebrate ourselves as human beings and the rights that are entitled to us just by the fact that we are human beings. That's why we celebrate Human Rights Day.
For you, Adeline?
Yeah. I think also just to add on that, for us it's also important to really create awareness around rights that are entitled to the people that we work with, so that people can be aware and know that they have rights like to housing, rights to life, and that kind of thing. And also apart from that, we also find this as an opportunity to kind of create an agenda for advocacy, because we understand that there are rights that have not been realized. So it's an opportunity to also consolidate and see how we can engage in advocacy towards realization of our rights.
You talk about rights. It's a good thing, and it must be spoken of. Recently, we had a situation in this country where I know of one school where they had a referendum. And the idea was, do we go home for holidays or do we stay? And that in itself is an expression of this freedom. So, as we talk about freedom and as we talk about the need to understand our freedoms, is there a need for balancing? When is it that your freedom is good and is a public good, and at what point does it infringe on other people's goods, and at what point does it infringe on, should we say, societal, the balance? I hear a lot of talk about freedom and understanding, and I think it's an excellent thing, but the balance of it.
Thank you. I think rights comes with responsibilities.
And do people understand that?
And I think people do understand that, and the government understand that. So that then when you anchor responsibilities...
Was that a question, or were you just... Was it rhetorical?
It was a rhetorical question. Yeah, because when we speak about responsibilities, then there are spaces upon which people then anchor these responsibilities, the concept of public participation, the concept of equity, the concept of equality, and how this anchors social justice. And today we are speaking about, reducing inequalities and advancing human rights. So then to what extent, as a nation, can we say that based on income, we are equal? That based on the value of life, we are equal? That based on gender, we are equal? To what extent can we say that? So that then we say that who is responsible and on whose table do they sit? And that's a major question that then comes with the International Human Rights Day, that whereas you claim your right, then you've got particular responsibilities.
We've seen with this look at development, so the government is focused on development and all, and that's where now the inequalities have emanated, where we see people complaining that with development, we are seeing people being evicted from their homes. You're seeing people being rendered homeless overnight because something needs to be put up here and being constructed here. How do you balance these two? How do we make sure that even the rights of the most vulnerable in the society are still upheld as we focus on development?
Thank you. One of the things that I think we've not learned as a nation is to also appreciate where we've come from. That we did have a framework in which was to guide development, and actual development now is anchored as one of the economic and cultural rights, that people have got a right to development. But are there lenses of human rights-based approaches to development? When you look at Nairobi and scan around Nairobi, you see what happened in Nakuru. That's a very recent case where the Nairobi Metropolitan Services are saying that we didn't carry out the evictions. The county government is saying that we didn't carry out the evictions. Kenya Bandol's authority is saying that we didn't carry out evictions. But who carried out the evictions?
Evictions were carried out.
And the evictions were carried out. And illegally. And they admit. So then who carried out evictions? Then we ask ourselves, do we have instances upon which government have done development without forcefully evicting people? Go to Outer Ring Road. When they were constructing the road, they did not evict anyone. They applied human rights-based approaches to developing that road, and Kenya Bandol's authority did a splendid job. So as human rights organization, then we question government. If you did it so well in Outer Ring Road, why didn't you apply the same standards in
Nakuru and Korogocho?
Because it means that you can,
you
right?
Can, exactly.
So then even as we are looking at this and saying, all right, so we've already seen that there is there's a trampling on some of these rights, socioeconomic rights, and across board. But then there are also instances where these then are upheld.
Yes.
So how would you rate Kenya's commitment right now as a nation, Kenya's commitment to upholding socioeconomic rights across board?
Adeline wants me to take that. I'll say 5. I'll say 5 because we've done so well within the policy and legal
5
framework.
out of what?
Out of 10.
Okay.
So that then what we failed to transition to is the implementation element of it and learning from our good practice. And that's why as organizations like Pamoja Trust, what we zero in on is documenting the best practices that have been evidenced by government and communities. Then we use them to engage in policy debates. So then what we did do is to go and document what happened in Outer Ring Road and develop what we call a stakeholder engagement framework. And we went back to Kenya Urban Roads Authority and told them that this was your framework that you applied at Outer Ring Road. Why can't you implement the same in other roads that you are, implementing in Kenya? And also within the same breath, when you look at the housing sector, as a nation, we've appreciated the place of cooperatives as a driver, in enhancing access to housing, particularly for the low-income earners. And we still go ahead to legislate on the Kenya Mortgage Refinancing Company that's basically run by commercial banks. When you look at the board, I don't want to call names because I'm on air, but the board is commercial banks who are driven by the
But it's in the public domain. The names were there. It's in the public domain. So even if you mention it, you will not be infringing on anybody's rights.
Yeah, so then perhaps we will have asked ourselves, and Adeline here will ask herself that what is the place of housing corporates within the board that manages the Kenya Mortgage Refinancing Company? If we say that 60 to 70% of our population live in informal settlements and live in a cooperative way of life where they contribute intermittently on a daily basis, and this has been a driver upon which they access housing. Why don't we see this reflected within the Kenya Mortgage Refinancing Company? I think it's something Adeline can expand.
Maybe then going to the next question, I think that the one that bring that in then, Adeline. So now, as what your organization does, specifically wherever it is represented, to make sure that these rights, socioeconomic rights, then are being upheld. And if we don't see it happening in different sectors, then the question is why? So I guess the first one is then, what exactly is being done by your organization, where it is represented, land, proper housing and things like that. What are some of the things that are being done that you have committed to?
Well, basically, I'd also maybe just say that our organization we are not an implementing organization, but we work through member-based organizations, like, for example, Pamoja, and also through the cooperative movement. So our voice basically is heard through the member organizations on the ground. But definitely
so effect is facilitating some of these other organizations to get the job done.
Exactly. And also when you talk about, like, for example, human rights, we are facilitating a process where organizations are able to monitor implementation of human rights in the country and participate in the universal periodic review process, and also just be able to ensure that shadow reports are kind of produced so that the government is also put on check. We're also promoting issues of gender equality, just to make sure that also there is empowerment so that this woman at the grassroots can be able to know her rights and just demand, but of course through building of social movements. And that's why we're using like the cooperative as a vehicle to bring people without possibilities. Actually, we really focus on the very poor of the poor, people who cannot really speak, from an individual perspective, but get organized so that together they can come together and demand their rights.
What does facilitating involve?
Facilitating basically means, I would say, capacity building the capacity of organizations to be able to reach out to their members on the ground.
You do know I'm going to ask you what is capacity building?
Well, it's a whole range. I would say, let me say it's a whole range of issues, but basically we look at it from, first of all, identifying the gaps within the organization to make sure that they have systems and procedures in place to operate. That means that they have to put in place like the relevant policies and make sure that it guides their operation. Then also they have the responsibility to now organize community member-based organizations into like cooperatives, build their capacity, again, in terms of strengthening the cooperatives to operate like independent institutions, autonomous institutions. But of course, we do this through financing. And then we have like a program which is implemented over 3 years and we monitor. But basically, we would just give like more of the technical aspect. And if we don't have it internally within We Effect, then we also outsource work with like bodies like CORAT or other bodies that can give us that capacity to be able to support the member-based organizations.
Charity, what does Groots do then also to make sure that everybody in the grassroots, like you said, is aware of their rights and is able to push for their rights?
Okay. As Groots Kenya, we are an implementing partner. I think we also work with We Effect. So she has mentioned capacity building, and one of the things we do with capacity building is that once we've identified the gap, we bring the women together and teach them. So we increase their skills, whether it's in agriculture, whether it's in knowing their rights. We teach them the rights of specific things. For example, if it's land reclamation, we partner with government and other partners. We go do training at the grassroots. So we don't go and train in the boardrooms. We go to the community. We sit with them, we teach them, then we give them like a period of time to see the change in behavior. So we also link them with stakeholders who are in those particular government offices, because we realize we can't work independently. We have to work through multi-sectorial approaches. So that's what we do. And because we are organized, because ideally we do the mapping of these women and organize them in groups, it means it's easy to track the changes and see the impact of what they are doing in their communities. So that's what we do. Yeah, we also do peer-to-peer approaches. So we take, like, for example, women from Tana River and take them to a place like Makueni to see what Makueni is doing. So they're doing like a benchmarking exercise. That shows that whatever is being taught in theory can also be done in practice. So what you see, you will never forget. So when you go back to your community, you carry some of the practices from one community to the other that will work for them. So that's what we've been doing over the years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. We can continue this conversation into the next hour with the two ladies and gentlemen who've joined us this morning. Charity Wangoi, joining us via video link, is a legal programs officer at Groots Kenya. Adeline Masinde is the adequate housing programs coordinator at We Effect. And Samuel Orlando is the executive director of Pamoja Trust. This is International Human Rights Day, and we're looking at the rights of every citizen, especially those in the marginal areas. Good morning. We want to say goodbye to our audience on KTN Home who've been with us since the top of the hour. The conversation continues on SpiceFM. You can switch over to SpiceFM 94.4 in Nairobi. In Mombasa, it's 87.9. Kisumu, 102.5. Nakuru is 96.0. 96.7 in Eldoret. Nyeri is 90.9. And Malindi is 97.7. Alternatively, you can watch us on SpiceFM KE on Facebook. Just search SpiceFM KE and you'll find us. We are also on Twitter. SpiceFM KE is our handle. And YouTube, SpiceFM KE as well.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Thank you.
The political class, the contestants, everybody is trying to outsteal the other.
Remorse is not taught in any school. Manners is something you get from your mother. You don't get it from your political party.
Why are we so unfocused as a country? Why are we spending money and resources, yet we have real challenges in this country?
This coronavirus pandemic should teach us one thing, that universal healthcare is critical. Because at this point, whether you have a medical card that covers you, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to
The
start.
conversation continues right here on Spice FM around the country. And our conversation continues on the issue of International Human Rights Day. And looking at the theme this year, human rights theme relates to equality, promoting equality and non-discrimination at the heart of sustainable development. Sustainable development then becomes now another issue that we need to define. Samuel, what is sustainable development?
That's an interesting question, and the question that will lead us, what are the demonstrative tools that perhaps we can use to define sustainable development?
So just use like 30 seconds to give us like what would it be?
Civic engagement being the first thing. Tax justice being the second thing. Participatory spatial planning being the third thing. Social policy, being the fourth thing. And responsible cooperative behavior.
It sounds like in all those things, the citizen then must be involved.
Exactly.
Must be at the heart of it. And it's all citizens, not just the affluent citizens.
Exactly.
Let's keep it right here for this conversation to continue. Let's first take a break and hear the news. What's the latest that's happening around the country and around the world with Bwana Aseto. And then we'll come back and continue. Samuel Orlando, Executive Director, Pamoja Trust. Adeline Masinde, Adequate Housing Programs Coordinator with We Effect, and Charity Wangoi, Legal and Programs Officer at Groots Kenya. Wherever you are around the country, around the world, happy International Human Rights Day. It's now 9 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4
This is Newswire.
SpiceFM.
Kenyans are streaming into Kasarani Stadium in the venue for the Agribusiness Media Conference, where leaders and Kenyans alike will be joining ODM party leader Raila Odinga in giving the resolutions of the countrywide campaigns he has been part of. Odinga says the Azimio la Umoja initiative is aimed at fostering peace as the country gears for the 2022 general elections. Kenyans are keen to listen to Odinga's announcement over his presidential ambitions, with expectations being that he will announce his intentions to run for the presidency come next year. And Ford Kenya party leader Moses Wetangula has followed in News One Kenya Alliance co-principal Musalia Mudavadi's footsteps, saying he will also not attend Raila Odinga's Azimio la Umoja convention. Wetangula, who is also the Bungoma senator, turned down Odinga's invite due to what he termed as prior engagement. Mudavadi turned down the invite to the conference at Kasarani Stadium, saying he will be tied down with personal engagements today. While referring to Odinga as a noteworthy competitor, the ANC party boss wished him success. University strike is looming as lecturers and university staff members continue to raise their concerns on the salary gaps as compared with other institutions. KUSU Secretary General Charles Muthui says the lecturers through the union said there exist huge salary gaps that need to be addressed and harmonized as soon as possible. They also raised concern over the fact that some lecturers are still being paid using the 2010 contracts and pay slips that ought to have been updated.
These institutions are run by the Exchequer, and in negotiating the 2017-2021 collective bargaining agreement with the unions gathered here, we did expect, and legitimately so, because these CBAs, after negotiations, they were registered by the court, the Employment Labor Relations Court, and therefore it created a legitimate expectation from the members.
Now, police in Kisii are looking for a middle-aged woman who was captured on a CCTV footage dumping a month-old baby inside Rams Hospital's theatre room within Kisii town. Confirming the incident, Kisii Central OCPD Peter Kimani said a hunt is underway for the woman who stayed for 40 minutes within the hospital premises. According to the hospital's administrator Enoch Abobo, the woman was captured at the hospital's reception and along the corridors carrying a baby before abandoning him at the theatre room without the knowledge of the security officers manning the facility. The young angel has now been christened Gift. It still remains unclear as to why the newborn was dumped within the hospital. Two police officers accused of murdering a casual laborer in Kinangop, Nyandarua County 6 months ago are fit to stand trial. The two, Luka Kiragu and Morris Muthui, were police constables who are declared to be mentally stable following a medical checkup conducted in Gilgil Sub-County Hospital. The two will now take a plea at the High Court in Naivasha on the 14th of December after they were charged with the murder of 35-year-old Daniel Emoji on June 22nd in Tulaga Center in Kinangop. The two, who appeared before Naivasha Senior Resident Magistrate Esther Mburu, have been remanded at Naivasha GK prison until next week when they will take a plea. The prosecution said that it was ready to charge the officers with the murder following the medical report that was adduced in court. A petition has been filed in court seeking the removal of Judge Murino Nyango of the Employment and Labour Relations Court. A petition by MAO advocates is in respect to a case that was filed before a Nakuru law court between Kachwai and Union of Kenya Civil Servants. MAO advocates argued that on 1st August this year, they filed a case before the Nakuru court seeking orders to stop election of Union of Kenya Civil Servants. The file was placed before Duty Judge Justice Baru Monica, who directed that the matter be heard on the 18th of August this year. They argued that the matter was not listed before the duty judge as earlier directed by the court and the file could not be traced from the registry. They argued that they decided to write to the Chief Justice requesting assistance in locating the file. According to the advocates, they were shocked by the development and puzzled as to how the file ended before Justice Murino Nyango under mysterious circumstances. Now, the World Food Programme has suspended food distribution in Ethiopia's Kombolcha and Desi towns after looting of supplies that staff were unable to stop due to intimidation, including being held at gunpoint. UN spokesperson Stefan Dujarric said a large quantity of humanitarian food supplies, including nutritional items for malnourished children, was stolen and looted in Kombolcha in the Amhara region. The looting and intimidation will worsen malnutrition and prolong food insecurity in northern Ethiopia, where an estimated 4.9 million people across the Tigray, Amhara and Afar regions need critical food assistance. And South Africa recorded more than 20,000 new coronavirus cases, nearly double the number from 1 week earlier. The government is making a renewed push for people to get vaccinated, but so far avoided new lockdown measures in an effort to protect the economy. Coronavirus cases are rising dramatically in South Africa, with over 113,000 people currently infected. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi. This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way
it's
to
7 minutes
start
after
your
9.
day.
This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. We still continue the conversation today, commemorating International Human Rights Day. CT, today's proverb.
Kaa na mwimbaji na utaimba.
Kaa na mwimbaji na utaimba. Okay.
It sounds interesting. Why did we just say kaa na mwizi?
Na utaiba.
Ama utaibiwa.
Utaibiwa. Samuel, wewe ni which of those? Mwimbi, mwimbaji?
Ama wimbo.
I think mimi ni mwimbaji. Exactly.
Unataka kuimba.
Anataka kuimba.
We're talking about promoting a human rights-based approach to sustainable development. And first, we started by, just before we get into the news, into trying to define the sustainable development bit. So how do we then promote a human rights-based approach to that?
I think before I hand over to Adeline, it brings the question of the centrality of the principles of governance. And the question that we will ask ourselves is the question as to whether our governance system anchor equity, whether they anchor human dignity, whether they anchor sharing and devolution of power that we've attempted to do in our constitution, whether it anchors patriotism, national unity, good governance, non-discrimination that we speak so eloquently in Article 27.4 of our constitution, and whether the tenets of human rights are reflected therein. And it's interesting that Azimio la Umoja coincidentally is on 10th. So then I want to also call upon Kenyans to look at the conversations in Kasarani vis-a-vis the principles of good governance. So that then that becomes a basis of the conversation in which we engage the political class.
Adeline, how do you then promote human rights-based approach to sustainable development?
Well, I think how we're doing it is basically focusing on a human rights-based approach to programming. And basically, there are key elements that we look at. First of all, we encourage participation, that for any project to be sustainable, then all those involved should participate. Participate in terms of decision-making, in terms of accessing, in terms of controlling of resources or whatever it is. And then secondly, also, we are looking at linkages. Linkages in terms of how this right you're trying to address is linked to the framework that exists, because then you can be able to have a basis of articulating the right that you're trying to address. And then we're also promoting issues of accountability in terms of who is accountable to who, so that the people we are targeting, as he said, know that they have responsibilities, but they're also duty bearers who have to facilitate realizations of this right. So they have to understand that chain so that when they're articulating their rights, they know who to approach. Apart from accountability, we are also looking at issues of non-discrimination. I think we are trying to make sure that the programs we are developing address issues of non-discrimination, especially for the most vulnerable and especially for the women. I think we focus a lot on women because we realize that they are disadvantaged in one way or the other. So when it comes to designing the project, then that has to be taken care of. And then also there's the issue of transparency, accountability from both ends. They have to be accountable, and also there has to be accountability from the state. So basically, and then there's the issue of empowerment. We're focusing a lot on empowering them. But we also need to empower the duty bearers, because we realize that for them also to help these people realize their rights, they have to be empowered. So it's kind of like a two-way empowerment process. So I think with that, we can be able to have more sustainable programs.
And so for Charity For You, as you look at Groots and then what Groots is currently doing in the country, and I'm sure from where you sit, then you would say, okay, there's still a lot more that needs to be done for us to get there. So what are some of the much more that need to be done in terms of implementation, in terms of realization of some of the lack of the implementation of rights that's happening?
Things we can do is ensure that there's accountability and citizens owning these processes. Because I think one of the things that has been very apparent even in the recent past is that a lot of the implementation of programs has not been owned by the people who are benefiting from this particular program or these particular projects of development. So I think one of the things is ownership and inclusion. That would mean it would reduce the inequality gap between the haves and the have-nots, and that would mean that we will have the progressive realization as has been stated before. So I think having this, like our approach at Groots Kenya, is that we do the bottom-up approach, that we start at the grassroots and ensure that the women themselves own these particular programs, and then we create the linkages. When we create the linkages, we enable the women to keep these stakeholders accountable, or duty bearers, if you may. So I feel like if there's inclusion and people who own these particular issues, then they will have the voice to be able to hold their leaders accountable, because they will come from a point of knowing what is entitled to them. I think with that, we can reduce the inequality gaps between the haves and the have-nots, because at a point of knowledge and knowing what you're entitled to and the resources that are available for you to be able to participate also enables you to reduce the gap. You're able to argue and have a seat at the table. Yeah.
This question is to the three of you, but let me start with you, Charity, and you can begin by answering. I'll give the other two wonderful people an opportunity to say their bit. Everything that I hear you people say is wonderful and it's good, but it isn't a bottom-up, it's a top-down. I say it's a top-down because I don't hear of any conversation where you go to the people and find out what it is they want, what they need, and how they'd like it done, so that you can tailor-make all these wonderful ideas to suit the needs that they have told you they have. You seem to be coming from a position of, you know what they want and you're giving it to them. How do you arrive at this?
No, actually, it's the opposite. It is, at least for our project implementation. Like, for example, myself, I only offer technical support for the women. They do all the work. So it is a bottom-up approach, at least from where I'm standing from. Because it's not like we go with
if
a
you're offering
project.
support, have they
Yes.
told you what they need?
Exactly. Yes, they have. That's how we do our program. So we actually go to the ground. They tell us exactly what they need. Most recently, they were telling us that they want to learn more about climate-smart agriculture. And what we did is we were able to link with county governments to be able to access this particular knowledge. And once they go and access this knowledge, they run with it. So I can say without a shadow of doubt for us, we go to the community, identify what the issue is. For even most recently, we had the increase in gender-based violence cases. And what happened is we created a community network. And it came from the women themselves. They say they're being overwhelmed by all these cases, and that people, like the leaders in their community, are coming to them, trying to assist them, ask them for assistance. So they wanted to do it more professionally and more legally. So what happened? We trained them, and they ran with it. So for us, we don't bring projects for them to do. We get the projects from them and now source for funding so that we're able to support them.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. And that's why we consider ourselves a movement as opposed to an NGO.
Thank you. From where I sit, basically, as I said, we do not implement directly, but we do what we call a multidimensional poverty analysis, just to understand like the poverty aspects in the region, because we work in East Africa, just to be able to understand areas that are mostly affected by poverty and what are the issues, what opportunities do they have, what resources are they lacking, and then based on that we design our programs. But also besides that, we also do a baseline just to be able to really again articulate these issues. Then from that level now, our partner organizations also now, then that is how we design our program. Then we have now partners who will also design a program that feeds into the regional program. And their program now directly kind of targets the people at the grassroots.
The question you raise is on evidence-informed policy. And that communities themselves have got innovations that should find their way into policies.
And that communities also know what they need.
And the communities also know what they need.
Yes.
That's why the conversation has shifted from capacity building to capacity strengthening. So then what we raise is that how can innovations around the cooperative life in terms of access to housing be reflected in the policy framework? When you talk about road infrastructure, how can stakeholder engagement framework in Outer Ring influence stakeholder engagement policy within Kenya National Highway Authority and Kenya Land Roads Authority? But we're also appreciating that our policy space has got a particular culture, that from independence, the policy space was informed by mischief, that we were putting penalties on statutes to address particular limitations or what we would perhaps will refer as crime, or to compel people to do particular things. We were not appreciating the culture of our people to inform policy. And I want to give you an example. In most occasions, when we train our engineers, we give them a blank sheet and tell them that, can you design a road? We don't tell them that when you're designing a road, there's Kangemi market. That when you're designing a road, there's Kibra informal settlement. So that their designs are on a plain sheet. So then, this takes us back to our curriculum. You know, how do we train people from the universities? How do we train our technical persons? How do they engage with evidence and innovations of communities to inform policies? And that's the space that Pamoja Trust comes in. So that then we say, okay, fine, we are not going to invent anything new. We just want to document what you've done well as a government. And we'll have a conversation with you based on that.
Okay.
So that then we change the policy cultures.
So you're at that point. You play at that level, at
Exactly.
influencing policy
Exactly.
and influencing programs at national
Exactly.
level and also county government level.
Exactly.
We comes in at programmatic design and seeing then what programs can be designed. And then Groots comes and says, we are a movement. We see what people are saying. So Groots is basically also feeding you. There's a feedback loop.
Exactly.
Okay. I understand it. It's 19 minutes after 9. And I want to thank you very much for joining us today. Asanteni sana as you go and celebrate the International Human Rights Day. I know that you have very many programs that you'll be running today and throughout into the next year. Continue doing the good job that you're doing.
Thank you so much for having us.
Asante. Samuel Orlando is the Executive Director of Pamoja Trusts. Adeline Masinde is the Adequate Housing Program Coordinator with We Effect. And Charity Wangoi is the Legal and Programs Officer at Groots Kenya. Thank you for joining us on Happy International Human Rights Day.
Thank you.
20 minutes after 9. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. Keep it right here. Let's take a look at the weather and traffic, and then we'll have more conversations.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM. 24/7, around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
Hello.
Halo, umesikia?
Nimesikia nini?
Hujasikia habari? Hebu acha nikuambie. Kile kimetokea.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Don't wait for hearsay. Dial *550*2# to read the Nairobian e-paper from the convenience of your mobile phone for only 20 shillings from your telecom line, and stay up to date, the hottest talk of town, with no additional charges.
Shipping and logistics is no longer a nightmare, courtesy of Sandy. Tune in to Sugar and Spice with Yolanda Mulo and DJ Absolute from 11 a.m. to find out how the Fulfillment app by Sandy is here to give you the peace of mind by ensuring all your packages are shipped safely to your destination.
No, you know, this wheelbarrow, how can you give people wheelbarrow? His party symbol is an umbrella. Is he distributing umbrellas in McQueen?
Have you been told if we don't lock between 10 to 4, this is what we're saving?
You try and call them, the same person who was in your house every day, because they know you are influential and you will give them votes. Call them after 1 month and see if they'll pick up their phone.
Don't tell your member of parliament that you want him to come and build a school, you want him to come and do a hospital. That is not the work of the member. Now that we have devolution in this country, these resources should go to those devolved units.
You have to have strong, independent institutions. And I mean, you have to have police who has the right to take the biggest town in the country and question, why did you do this and that, and send them to court if necessary.
Joel in Kericho, good morning.
Salama sana Eric, habari ya asubuhi.
Salama kabisa. Mbunge wako ni nani?
Anaitwa Seriousness Maritim, hapa ni Ainamoi.
Seriousness Maritim, Ainamoi.
Yes. Sasa ile juma nampambia hii nini?
The weather with Spice
All right, still
FM.
looking at cloudy conditions in Nairobi this morning. A bit of a sprinkle here and there. Light rain for most parts of the morning, highs of 24 and lows of 15. Nakuru is cloudy at 19, highs of 27 and lows of 14. And it's cloudy at 17 in Nyeri, highs of 23 and lows of 14. Eldoret, mostly cloudy at 16, highs of 25 and lows of 13. Mombasa this morning is still intermittent rain at 31, highs of that and lows of 25. Partly sunny conditions in Malindi at 31, that'll be the high, coming down to lows of 26. It's partly sunny at 25 in Kisumu, highs of 30 and lows of 20. And we're looking at partly sunny conditions at 25 in Kakamega. with highs of 31 and lows of 17. Kampala is sunny at 22, highs of 27, and we're looking at rain in Dar es Salaam, highs of 31 and lows of 25. Lagos, there's still a haze over the city, likely to go through most of today, highs of 33 and lows of 25. And Johannesburg is sunny at 20, warming up to highs of 26 and lows of 15. Kinshasa is sunny at 26, highs of 32 and lows of 24. While out in Beijing, it's sunny at 8, highs of 9 and lows of -1. In Paris, it's raining and there is a wind warning of yellow, highs of 8 and lows of 2. Clear at 7 in London, going to highs of 8. While it's mostly cloudy in New York, inching closer and closer to Friday morning, we'll see highs of 11 and lows of 5.
Spice and everything nice. All right.
Spice up your life.
Okay, so what does it look like now? Still some traffic on the Thika Superhighway in and outbound. That looks like it's going to be quite heavy for most of today. Langata Road, also some traffic as you approach the roundabout at the T-Mall, going then towards Raila Odinga Way. That is all right. Gong Road, still quite something. And getting onto Haile Selassie Avenue into the city, the CBD is a sea of traffic. Kiambu Road also. I'm looking at that Muthaiga Road coming then joining at Muthaiga Square, quite heavy as well as Limuru Road this morning. It continues. We'll keep an eye on things for you. Let us know also where you might be stuck this morning and at least find a good solution for that. Remember, it's slippery, so be careful. SpiceFM KE on Twitter, text 40127.
Okay, once again on Showmax. Showmax.com is what you ought to get somebody from for Christmas. With Showmax, you get to watch all your favorite TV programming on up to 5 different devices. But you can watch on 2 different devices at the same time. Think about your smart TV, your mobile device, your gaming console, your laptop, your desktop, whatever. 5 devices, choose any 2. And I was telling you, you can choose just Showmax for 300 bob, Showmax Pro that gives you also live streams of super sport programming and also live news. Or if you actually have a DSTV subscriber, you can also get yourself upgraded to Showmax. Enjoy Showmax at 50% discount. Pay 380 shillings a month when you add Showmax to your DSTV bill. And you have all that. If you pay for Showmax today, you get an extra 1 month free.
Welcome to Spice FM, the best exclusive radio station bringing you the best mix of the best music ever. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings,
27 minutes after 9.
94.4.
So, we've been told that all roads are leading to Kasarani. For the what? The Azimio la Umoja event.
National Convention.
It's a national convention
Yes.
of Azimio la Umoja.
Yes.
What does that mean?
What, the National Convention, or what does Azimio la Umoja
The whole
mean?
thing.
Folks are coming together to grace this auspicious occasion through which an announcement will be given or made as per Raila Odinga's bid for the presidency or not.
So Azimio la Umoja is like a declaration of unity.
Yes.
This is what it ought to be. And several leaders have been invited. So some, the NASA principals, the former NASA principals, are not going to be in attendance. Some of them. For example, Senator Moses Wetangula, the leader of Ford Kenya, said, I received an invitation to my brother, Honorable Raila Odinga, party leader, ODM, to attend his Azimio event tomorrow. Due to prior engagements, I will not attend. I wish him well. We saw the Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka is in Juba, South Sudan, having meetings there, talking about the peace talks in South Sudan. Let me look for his latest tweet where he was in South Sudan. Okay. So 40 minutes ago he tweeted, one of the proudest moments as a Kenyan, as an East African, as an African, has been witnessing the birth of a new nation. As a citizen of a free and democratic republic, I yearn that South Sudan sets its compass on the wheel of unity guided by freedom of choice. He landed in South Sudan yesterday to have conversations there. Status meeting with the President Salva Kiir and held talks. Musalia Mudavadi also sent his regrets that he'll not be able to attend this particular event. The president, of course, we know he's on a 3-day state visit to Tanzania, so he's also not there. But does it matter?
Good question, really. Does it matter? It's his day. What would matter if he didn't attend it?
That would be the issue, wouldn't it?
If Raila didn't attend his event.
Then you'd say, wait a moment, why is he not attending his day?
If somebody else was representing him on the day, then you would say, okay, there's a bit of a problem here.
Yes. But as things stand, that's why we have an RSVP.
And they've done just that.
They've just done. I mean, that they have done it is respectful enough, and it's good enough. You know, every time I look at political statements, I look at a political situation, and I look at the understanding of what is actually going on, I'm reminded of the fact that you really need a different kind of software to understand political events, political statements, and political beings. Yes. We live on this planet with them. In fact, we actually live in this country with them. But when it comes to communication and the things that they do, it's on a completely different platform. Yes, completely.
You see, when we look at the event, okay, in terms of each of these gentlemen, well, not each, but these gentlemen have held their own events. Kalonzo Musyoka recently had an event where he was given the go-ahead by the party.
Mantle.
Yeah, to seek the presidency. We saw the same thing for Gideon Moy, for instance. We've seen the same thing for others. And now they've been invited, they're not showing up. And each of them is just giving, apart from Kalonzo, whom we can say, peace talks, was meeting with the president of South Sudan. Maybe this was the time when the president of South Sudan was available. So, okay. Musalia says, regrettably, I will not be able to attend because of personal engagements. Wetangula says, I'll not be able to attend because of prior engagements. He's basically just saying, sikuji.
Those are messages that are being sent to you. I'm not coming. Yeah.
Are they sulking?
I would say they
Not
are.
making a statement. You see the...
Making a sulking political statement.
Look, the question we asked earlier on, when Raila attended Kalonzo's function, okay, if you were to read it, if you were to interpret it, what would you interpret it as? Is it that Raila went to simply attend the function? Did he go to support Kalonzo? Did he go to endorse Kalonzo? What did he do?
He went to support.
Precisely. Now,
these ones have also been invited to come and support.
Precisely.
Rudisha Mkono.
But how does it look like? My thinking is this. If it's a Raila event, it isn't support. It'll be read as endorsement. Because all these individuals that we speak of belong to political parties that are smaller than ODM. They are less powerful than ODM. Okay? And Raila is a bigger personality than all of them. Yes. So if you go to the function of a bigger personality, again,
It shows that you're a foot soldier.
Okay, between NARC and Wiper, which one is the bigger political party? Wiper. Between Charity Ngilu and Kalonzo Musyoka, who's the senior politician?
the endorsed leader, senior here, tricky. The word senior, tricky.
Seniority politically.
Because Charity Ngilu is the first person who took a stab at the presidency in the region. Okay? So in terms
Kalonzo
of...
Musyoka has been in politics longer.
Yes,
Elective
but
politics.
Kalonzo Musyoka is actually considered as the de facto leader of the Kamba people.
Okay.
Yes.
So when Charity Ngilu attended Kalonzo's event, was she endorsing Kalonzo or was she appearing there to show her support and solidarity with?
You see, now that is the subject that requires interpretation and perspective, because I think he was supporting her tribesperson.
Not necessarily saying, here is my endorsement for you to now take up this position. But okay, let's come along and offer you that support. Had she shown up had it been for a different individual in a different capacity, then some would have said, okay, that looks like endorsement.
And then also, I mean, if you're talking about the optics, this is the optics we're talking about here, isn't it? Okay? And Eric, you gave a really good example. Charity Kalok Ngilu is a seasoned politician. As you say correctly, remember the CORD, the Jubilee, the movement, okay? Now that tells you this is somebody who understands their onions from their leeks, because in the previous government, they'd also been in a different position. And so they don't go around making negative overtures. No. Kalonzo has an event. They will go, by all means. Why should they not go? That's the question. Now, look at the optics. We're now looking at what's happening in Kasarani. There is no event of all the individuals you've mentioned where they've gotten their local endorsements, which is as huge as this one. So you're talking about optics.
What it looks like is that you're having a political sulk if you don't go. That's what it looks like. And it looks like, all right, what you're saying is that it waters down if we're going on optics alone, that you attending this event as somebody who has previously said that you would also like to go for the same position, is that maybe you're saying that in terms of strength, you don't have just as much as he may or that he does. So you going there basically shows that you're saying, all right, guys, I'm also here saying that it's possible that he could be president. You not going means, or rather, you not going shows that, all right, if I do go, no, I'm not going to go, because that would water down my position.
I'm not going to take any position that may indicate in the slightest
that they're the preferred over me.
Misinterpreted.
That they're the preferred over me.
Yes. Yeah. But they've been meeting.
Yes.
So they've been attending. Okay. They have been meeting. As Oka leaders, they've been meeting with Raila. Okay? And they come out clearly and saying, no, we are meeting and talking about how we can work together. So them appearing there, I would still argue that them appearing there could also go the same way. We have come here, we have said, yes, we've been having conversations with Raila. We know our brother Raila, on what he has done in terms of Azimio la Umoja, about seeking solidarity and unity as a country. That's what we also stand for. And we are not here to say that we are endorsing Raila. We are here to say that we agree, we support what Raila is doing. For example, Kivutha Kibwana, who's another presidential candidate, tweeted and said, on behalf of the Muungano Party, I convey fraternal solidarity to Raila Odinga, ODM, and all Azimio supporters. May the reform, devolution, and unity spirit always prevail. Kivutha Kibwana, Muungano Party leader and presidential aspirant, 2022.
You know what he's done by that statement? It's like when you finish a match, basketball, football, whatever, and then you go and shake the opponent's hand, regardless of who won or lost.
Yes.
That's what Kivutha has just done. These other gentlemen, okay, say for maybe Kalonzo, who's out of the country and whatever. Do you know what they've done? They've refused to shake the hand at the competition. We don't know who has lost. We don't know who has won. You've just decided fair play is not in my vocabulary.
No, right, but they tweeted, and in their language of tweeting, they said they also expressed solidarity and support. It's just that they're not showing up because of prior engagements.
Personal engagements and things I had.
I had planned things to do on the 10th of December. Just because you're inviting me for a bash doesn't mean that I
have to
must
drop everything that I have to do.
Doesn't mean I don't have my own plans.
Yes.
Right.
Look, you heard me mention earlier on in the morning that if I were to interpret, I would say negotiations are still ongoing. In summary.
Let me tell you, if the right thing is said before 11:30, those prior engagements can be put in the dustbin. If the right thing is said, if the right phone call is made, and those things that you send fair can happen and people can show up.
Reminds us of the BBI rally in Kakamega. You remember? Remember that one? The BBI rally in Kakamega, where those two gentlemen, what are their names? Musalia Mudavadi and Moses Wetangula had planned and arranged a parallel meeting elsewhere in Western Kenya.
They had.
Fair ikatumwa.
And they did what?
They showed up.
There's still time.
It's still too early.
It depends on how you are. And if you ask me, you know how they say you do certain things and it's a cry out. If you ask me, this is sulking. And what happens when somebody is sulking? You go and speak to them in a certain manner, and then suddenly the rain is out and the rainbow and the bunnies are jumping, and then somebody can come out and have a different kind of conversation.
It could also be a political ploy. Just play that, grab the headlines by showing up, walking in after Raila has walked in, after, when the entertainment is happening, walk in now and, wave at the people and the entire crowd.
And then you come out smelling like a rose.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Optics play a huge role in all of this. And it's nothing akin to having prior engagements or personal issues. No. It's a message that's being sent. And, woe unto those who don't hear it, that whatever it is that you're trying to say, it may be heard in a different manner, or, somebody might disregard you completely, but there's still something that you're trying to say.
KTN News is live in Kasarani, and of course, once we are done with this show, you can keep glancing at KTN News to see what's happening in Kasarani. So the question that we want you to participate in with on the conversation this morning, 0719012600, is yes, we can see there's a big event happening at Kasarani. It's the Azimio la Umoja. It's also expected to be the stage where Raila Odinga declares formally that he'd like to vie for the presidency next year. So what should we expect to hear today from the people who speak here, and especially from Raila? In terms of, you've brought the people together. You're talking about Azimio la Umoja. You're talking about peace and unity. But what else? What else should we expect to hear that addresses the pain points of Kenyans today in our society? Even if he does not, surprise, surprise, declare that he wants to be the president, but he's a big player in Kenya's political space. He's a national leader. What should we expect to hear once he has such a captive audience, both locally and internationally, to make sure that the issues that really affect the Monanchi are brought to the fore?
Look, I think you will hear a consolidation of the things that he's been saying over the last few months. I think, all jokes aside, it's very clear to anybody who's been listening that he will say, or he will then, launch a bid to be a presidential candidate in next year's election. I think that you'll hear a consolidation of all the things that he's been saying and the promises that he's made, and say that, look, here, guys, give me an opportunity to do this once again. And these are the things that I intend to do should I be given the position, of president next year. I think that you hear a coming together of all of those things today, and then you'll hear various glowing endorsements from other people who believe that he's in a position to do just that. But I see today being a sum total or some consolidation of the things that he's been saying and that he's been promising Kenyans for the longest time. Apart from that, I don't see anything outside of that, aside from him saying that he wants to then now run for president. I think the long-awaited announcement will come today. But in terms of the little snippets that he's been dropping on the trail for the last, however, before he now launches it properly, are the things that you will hear today.
Those are the things that we'll hear. Karanja from Naivasha is on the line. Good morning, Karanja.
Good morning, Eric Latiff and City.
Good morning, Karanja.
Now, I think this is the start of the change in Kenya. If you remember, in 2002, the NAC Kenya, NAC coalition stood firm to put more out of the government. Now, I think what we expect to see in today's event, first of all, Raila will announce the biggest coalition ever in Kenya. Maybe that is what, if you see the chronology of events, we had 40 coalition, we had the NARC coalition. Now we shall see Azimio la Umoja will come up with so many political parties that we will be joined here, and there will be a biggest announcement ever in the Kenyan history.
Which parties do you expect?
It will be, I expect Raila today, it will not be called ODM. It will be maybe a bigger party like Azimio Foundation Party in Kenya.
Karanja,
maybe they will, yes.
Which other parties are likely to join then in this coalition?
You see, people, those people who are snapping the invitation there. They are spare vehicles. You know what? They are looking at a glance and they say, okay, let us wait and see what the big pot will cook. Then they will join us spices there. Because I know they are there, they are waiting. They are spare vehicles waiting to join. And I think that these guys, they are together with the Raila. Take my word, these people, they are together with Raila. And in fact, they are a very bigger coalition ever to happen in Kenya history.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Eric.
Thank you very much, Karanja. 0719012600. What do you expect to see out of Kasarani today, and what do you expect to hear out of leaders who speak in Kasarani? Like you said, so Raila has been, hinting at what he would like to do if he became president. Very many things that he's been saying, this and the other, every Sunday releasing a statement on his social media platforms, giving his thoughts on what he wants to do should he be elected president. Do you expect him to come out here and now say, if you actually give me this opportunity, this is what I want to do? And are those aligned to what the people need? Like you keep asking, is it coming from the people or is it coming from you? Is this, we're calling it Azimio la Umoja, and it's the people who are now going to make the declaration. Is it the people's declaration or is it your declaration and that you're calling the people's declaration? Jackson in Mtwapa, good morning.
Morning, how are you?
Very well, thanks.
Yeah, so I'm happy to join you today also.
We're happy to have you.
In fact, if I go direct to the big announcement that we are expecting today, me personally, I'm expecting to hear Raila mentioning running mate, because I know Raila automatically is going to buy. You cannot move all around the country and you don't have something, or you don't want to stand as a president. So my expectation, I'm just expecting Raila to announce the running mate, and I'm expecting Raila to announce a female running mate.
I see.
Yeah, that one. In fact, if Raila does
your
that,
crystal ball show you who this running mate would be?
Yeah, running mate is there, and just wait and see. You will see.
Who?
And you will hear that announcement.
Who is it? Thank you, Jackson. Have a good day. Jack in Eldoret, good morning.
Morning to you.
Good
morning.
Is City Muga around?
Yes, City Muga is around.
I heard that he is now a musician because he gave us a musical proverb.
Yeah.
What?
Now you've entered the realms
you know,
of prophecy. Yes.
This thing about Baba, inatuuma kichwa. Because nobody knows who will be the running mate. And if you see now, I think the biggest agenda is piga hao watu wa Tangatanga na UDA, unaona? So it will be just, hata ni kama vitu vingi tunajua tu, unaona? It's like sasa kusema hajasimama and yet he's already doing campaign, na wanasema, they are saying he's not, hajatangaza officially kwamba anagombea, unaona? So what he is going to do ni kusema tu yale ambao tumezoea. It's just a normal campaign. People should take it easy. Yeah. Unajua risivali atupangwingwi.
Thank you. Rotich in Mombasa, good morning.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Very well, thanks.
Huyu jamaa amesema wala wapangwingwi. Anyway, expectedly, probably from my end, I expect Raila to announce his running mate. And I don't expect him to maybe have this launch it as a party, because you see, in Kenya we have this kind of habit of changing parties when it comes to the next general election. It's only ODM that has over time consistently remained with as remained as it is as ODM. But as somebody, as the first caller said, that maybe this is a rejoinder where guys will come and where there will be an announcement of a new party that maybe will vie the presidency through that ticket. But still, the monkeys are the same. It's only now it's only the forest that will change. So I don't expect him to change that name. Let it only remain ODM. But with that, there's a slogan as Azimio Umoja kwa Taifa.
Rotich.
Yes.
You're mentioning running mate.
No.
What makes you think?
Your next question. Yes.
What makes you think he's going to name a running mate today?
This is there will be in the home stretch come as we get into the year 2022 January. With that, it will be the home stretch. Though the home stretch should be commenced from May, as per the ABC regulation and all that. But it will give a message out there if it will be a woman that she's embracing the
Gender balance.
The gender balance, yeah. And if it's a man, it depends with the region, maybe trying to balance out region-wise. Now, but another major thing that I expect him to, I would really expect him to talk about is the state of the economy. As far as basic things to the regular mwananchi is concerned, like things like cooking oil, which have in the year 2021, it has increased by 34.7%. And cooking gas and such stuff. You see, those are the things that resonates with the regular mwananchi. And when it comes to now, these guys who say they're attending personal issues, engagements out of the country, for one, the president was, as a head of state, was expected to be on the other side also because our neighbors are celebrating the Independence Day. Now, these other guys, as somebody has said, that if you invite me to a party, it doesn't mean that I don't have anything to do. Probably on that day, I'm also engaged.
Yeah.
Sure.
So let Raila run with this thing as peke yake, unless sasa maybe something ifanyike, maybe Basha itembea my county ingie kitu, wale wengine watokeze na choppers.
Indeed.
Thank you, Rotich.
Yeah.
Asante sana. 0719-012-600. Anthony in Mombasa, good morning.
Good morning, my friend. Morning today.
Good morning, Mheshimiwa Anthony.
Yes, Anthony from Ziwalangombe, MCA, Kanu, Tidim. Well, confirm for me if Gideon Moi, my party leader, is also attending the meeting.
You should be telling us. You are the, you're the member
No,
of the
I'm
party.
away. I'm out of the country.
Oh.
All right. Okay.
But anyway, what I wanted to clarify is there is no need of telling us running mate because that is a must. He has to say it. Not a must. He has to say it today. There are many days to come. Election is 9th of August today. So what we are expecting, Raila to say, because obviously I saw it in the news media, the 5th, Raila the 5th. So which means he has to run for president. Yes, we cannot run away from that truth. But what he needs to emphasize on is how he is going to curb this runaway corruption. How is he going to deal with this corruption? Because the people who have surrounded his presidential ambition are the same people whose names are all over in the government. And we know the government is the one, is the body of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, in quote. So we want Raila, we are expecting Raila to tell us how he's going, if given that chance, he's going to deal with that. And also the issue of the young adults. I told you yesterday that we are not, we are no longer calling ourselves youth.
It's young adults.
Yeah, because, young adults. Many people are calling themselves youth, yet they have grandchildren. So we are young adults.
Okay.
Thank you, Anthony.
How is he going to? Because young adults, we don't want handout. This 6,000 shillings per month. How is he going to ensure that these people get it? Because even the old, their money are not getting into their accounts at the appropriate time. How is he going to manage the entire country's youth problem?
Okay.
He needs to give us the solution of how we can get a job.
Asante
Thank
sana,
you.
Anthony.
Yeah.
Your national party chairman was in Mombasa yesterday. He's bereaved. He just lost his mother-in-law. And they were burying the mother-in-law yesterday. So we don't know whether he's traveled or whether he's still dealing with attending to family matters.
Okay, thank you.
Asante. 0719-012-600. What do you think? What do you expect out of Kasarani today in the Azimio la Umoja event?
Well, also, as I think about it, and I hear all these calls for, let's say what you're going to do about corruption, let's hear what you're going to do about the state of the economy, etc., etc. Then I hear it as being beyond just an announcement, but that there's an expectation from people to say, all right, here you are taking the stab as at the presidency once again. What are we going to see that's going to be different this time? What are we going to see that at least you will tell us that we can have now something to hold on to? Away from the fanfare and the history of disappointments when it came to elections and things like this. Is there going to be something different, or is it going to be the same thing that people have seen before? What new thing then will you have to offer? And maybe there's still that hope.
So beyond the whipping up of the crowd, because that's definitely going to be there.
What are you really going to offer and deliver? And I think there's an expectation that there will be something different.
But let me ask the question: what new thing can there be on offer?
Well, I mean, from the person who wants to be the president, it doesn't matter who it is. It could be Raila, it could be whomever else has said that they would want to be. I think that is it. That you don't think
there's anything new that can be offered?
I think there are many things new that can be on offer.
Oh, there's a lot that can be offered.
I'm just
asking the question.
It depends on you as the individual, what it is that you have seen. What is the heartbeat of the nation at the moment? What has it been for the last 5 years that has been undelivered? What is the possibility of what could come in the future? Those are what Kenyans are hoping you will come and tell them. Not to tell them that things are hunky-dory and everything is looking good, but yes, we embrace and we say that, all right, things are not looking good. Here's what I can do with what I have. And I think that Kenyans are at that point where they're really looking for that one thing that you can do and that you will come and tell them how it is that you intend to do this thing. The fanfare and all is nice, but when the rubber meets the road, what Kenyans are expecting is what you're going to do that is going to change their lives for the better, even if it is in the smallest degree.
It's not so much what one hears, it's what one sees, and I'm going to explain what I mean. There is a furor right now in the UK with regards to the time last Christmas when people were locked in. And there are clips that are doing the rounds of people who work within 10 Downing Street, part and parcel of the Prime Minister's leadership, who seemed, it is being suggested strongly by those clips, that they were having a good time and partying when everybody else was locked down.
Was locked in. Yeah.
It is creating a delightful storm, if storms can be delightful. Now, the outcome of this is interesting, and one will find it interesting to watch. And there are those who are predicting that this could be the beginning of the end for Boris Johnson's reign. Okay? We also had COVID here, and the government had issued very strict orders as to what ought to be done. And all these political leaders didn't just ignore it, they went against those rules completely. Completely. They showed zero leadership when it came to understanding public health and the safety that was required by the citizens of the country. If you can have huge political rallies, huge gatherings amidst the issues that we had, then the question really has to be asked. The new things that you say you're going to bring, how then can we believe it when something as basic and as fundamental as not the health, the life and death issues of people. COVID was killing people. COVID is still killing people. How do you explain this? So you're asking, are there things that could have been done? Of course.
Yeah.
Of course, there are things that could have been done. And I'm talking about the immediate past. COVID is still with us.
Yep.
So now, from where I stand, if you disregarded something that simple, why would I want to take anything that you're going to say thereafter seriously?
Everything else is just going to be talk.
You had an opportunity.
Sure, but
to demonstrate.
If you're looking at people who are showing, and this is what I'm talking about, hope. That if you're looking at the people who are showing up in those large numbers, regardless of whether we're going to talk about crowd pulling and crowd resourcing and capacity in order for you to show up, there still is an element of hope. That in the midst of all of these things that have gone belly up, that there is hope for somebody who comes out tomorrow, the day after, who will say, you know what, we've seen that things have gone south. Give me an opportunity to make it right in the smallest degree. And that's where you have all these people showing up, people who are glued to their screens, people who are at the venue and saying, you know what, and who have been at previous venues when others have made their bid, and people who will be at future venues when others make theirs. Why is that happening? If you want to look at it, is that people still have that glimmer of hope to say, you know what, things have been bad, damn bad, but maybe there's somebody who can deliver a better situation. And that's what I see. That folks are still hoping that it can be better, that somebody will actually take it and then say, this bad situation, what can we get out of it? Now, trampling upon that hope is a travesty of untold proportions. If you trample on that hope by not offering somebody the how you're going to make it better, then that's where I see the major problem being.
You know, we talk about gender representation and the gender balance in the two-third rule. Huh? And the messaging that one hears from it is that, yes, we said two-third gender rule, but even if we have just 10%, you know, it's more than what we had before. Why do I give that as an example? If the benchmark is 100 and you do 70 and you're saying 70 is good, I'm saying it is not. That was not the aim. This has been our logic and reasoning when it comes to unfulfilled projects, when it comes to unfulfilled promises, when it comes to things that ought to be done, which are not done. But you see, this has been done. Yes, it has, we know. But that was not the goal. The idea was not to get to 70%. The idea was to get to 100%. Yes. So if you can't get to 100%, tell us why you can't get to 100%.
Yeah, why are you celebrating 70?
Yes.
And your goal was 100.
And you're making it a big thing.
Yeah. Let's go for the weekend. All right? We'll be back on Monday. It'll be a public holiday, the 13th day of December. Have a happy Jamhuri Day. See you again right here on Monday morning from 6 to 10. But let's hear today's proverb as we conclude.
Kaa na mwimbaji, utaimba wimbo. Literally, sit with a musician or sit with a singer and you will sing songs or you will sing a song. Yes. So,
choose your company.
Choose your company.
It influences you.
And it also marks you. It also brands you.
Defines you.
Yes.
Asante sana for tuning in. Have a lovely weekend. Good morning. It's now 10 a.m.